this live stream in particular is gonna be fire, bro. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Genshin Impact lore video. This is actually something that I'm kind of putting together myself with all of the excitement following the 4.7 live stream special program with Natlan's tease, the next Archon quest interlude with Dainsleif, Lumine, the Loom of Fate, and everything else. I actually wanted to do a big stream, a big video centered and focused solely around Natlan and every single thing that the game has given us that we know so far, that we can infer so far about the nation, the Archon, the dragons, the lore, all of the the bits and pieces of details that we can kind of expect when the nation comes out in 5.0. There's also the Saurian quest that recently just released. I'm going to be starting this today and going through all of it, which this is kind of like the first official piece of content in the game centered on Natlan, centered on the lore, and there's an NPC that's probably going to be giving us a lot of new information on the Saurians, maybe the customs of Natlan, and just a bunch of different things that can kind of get us excited based on what we know so far. So we're going to be getting into this. However, similar to Fontaine prior to its release, Natlan has been a nation that has given us little breadcrumbs, even less than Fontaine. We haven't seen a single NPC of the region thus far in any other region of the world, so it seems very interesting. I'm wondering if there's like a lore reason why NPCs just are not anywhere else located outside of Natlan, unless maybe the citizens of Natlan are dragons, like they're all dragons, and therefore to have just a random dragon creature walking around in the world kind of gives away what it's like in the nation itself. Maybe, I have no idea, but I'm very excited to just go down everything, and I have a massive dank ass list of notes. I spent all day yesterday compiling, putting this together, of every piece of information that we've ever gotten regarding Natlan. Maybe not every single one, but all the ones that I can remember off the top of my head from my journey, from Stanley to Lady Vanessa, and a lot of the information that we've gotten from like drip marketing and NPCs throughout Teyvat. And I'm just really excited overall to compile everything. So this is going to be my interpretation of a one-stop shop for all things Natlan oriented. We're going to break down everything, talk about it, and just see what conclusions we come to. Obviously, I'm going to be talking with chat, and we're going to be putting it all together throughout. So the first thing we're actually going to get into is actually not even in the game. The first thing we're going to address with Natlan is the Teyvat preview chapter, which is probably the first thing we ever got about Natlan, about every nation. But you know, we're going into the 5th major patch of the game. Actually, you know what, we're gonna go through everything. I actually kind of want to go through this all together. The last time I watched it was after 4.2, after we finished the Fontaine Archon quest. So I'm very interested to just see overall, just kind of see the game now. Like, everything that we've experienced is going to be like, of course that's what Dainsleif meant. It makes so much sense. How could we have not known? And then when we get to Natlan and Snezhnaya, it's going to be like, I have no idea what the hell's going on. But anyways, let us see.
We had no time to say goodbye, so let's not call it that.
Lord knows what that line means. I have no... Aether, what does that mean, bro? We're going into 5.0. I still don't know. Ugh. So good.
The war has already begun. It is just a continuation of past battles.
That line is so heavy when you realize the cycles of Teyvat, right? Hyperborea, Natlantian, Remoria, Krenaria, I think it's what it was. Like, the way he says it's just a continuation of past battles, it almost seems like there's a cycle going on here, gamers. The war has already begun. It's been going on forever.
The gods goad us on with the promise of their 7 treasures. Rewards for the worthy.
7 treasures? You mean 7 pieces of a deceased corpse? It's crazy. Like, I'm just sight translating what Dainsleif actually means. I was like, no, those aren't 7 treasures. Those are 7 curses, my guy.
The doorway to divinity.
Yeah.
Yet buried.
Also, there's 6 now. Well, technically the Gnosis is still a thing, but there's only 6 seats now.
Depths of this world lies smoldering remains, a warning to those that dare trespass. That throne
Hold
in
on.
the sky, a warning to those that dare trespass. That throne in the sky is not reserved for you.
Goddamn.
But mortal arrogation never stops.
This is so cool.
None will escape the flames.
Bro, everyone's literally gonna die. Everyone's gonna... I hate that I'm laughing, but it's just like, bro, I have to laugh because that's so depressing to think about.
See for yourself. The dragon who defended Monstadt for a millennium finally faces his perturbation.
Devalin.
What does freedom really mean when demanded of you by a god?
So good!
The god of contracts, senselessly slaughtered as his people watched on in horror.
Fake news, by the way.
Rex Lapis, assassinated at the rite of dissension?
In the end, he will sign the contract to end all
Bruh.
contracts.
Senselessly slaughtered in front of his people? Bro, that's spreading misinformation to another level, dude. I swear to God.
In the secluded land of the immortal Shogun, the Bakufu rules eternal.
Inazuma. God.
But what do mortals see of the eternity chased after by their god?
Leave her alone, she's depressed! Okay?
The god of wisdom's enemy is wisdom
Let's
itself.
go!
And the oasis of knowledge is a mirage in the desert of ignorance.
Yeah. Facts.
In the city of scholars,
Facts.
there is a push for folly. Yet the god of wisdom makes no argument against it.
I hate that last line, dude. That last line is so devious. It's so deceptive. Like, that makes it seem like Nahida was okay with what was going on. She's just a baby locked up in baby jail. She literally can't do anything. So, like, whenever someone's like, ode to resurrect, incandescent ode to resurrection means they're reviving somebody. You don't fucking know that, okay? None of us do. And Dainsleif is being cheeky,
again.
okay? I refuse.
The god of justice lives for the spectacle of the corpse,
Peak.
seeking to judge all other
Absolute
gods.
cinema, dude.
But even she knows not to make an enemy of the divine.
Bro. Shout out to Focalors, bro. So fucking good. Also, they actually were two characters, by the way. None of this 2-for-1 character nonsense. This is a gacha game, Arnold. Past me was so cope, bro. I was like, yo, what if they gave us 2 characters in one? It's like, well, they gave us one of them for free, technically. But, like, yeah. We've come a long way. This was such a cool reveal, though. Even she knows not to make an enemy of the divine. Masquerade of the guilty. So peak, dude. We're editing that right now for YouTube, and so just going back through it, I actually talked to a friend of mine, but I think Farina's my favorite Archon. I am a sucker for willpower, and the fact that Farina was just a simple, ordinary, not crazy powerful, just a precious, innocent human being like us. I relate to her more than anyone. I'm also a human. Yet she went through something that I feel is so immeasurable to describe. Like, she had no divinity to help her. She had no crazy powers. She had nothing but her humanity and her, like, willpower and resolve to just not break at any point. Even when the Traveler seemed like he could have been an easy out for her, to just feel relieved for just a second. Like, she didn't waver for a second, and I fucking loved that. And yeah, she was cursed with immortality, which was the worst thing that Focalors could have done to her, and she was just like, yeah, she was all these things, and then I cursed her. I think 500 years of just not breaking under any stress, under any pressure whatsoever until the final moment where she was found guilty, I think that is strength beyond godhood, in my opinion. That is like the potential of humanity right there. Yeah, I love Farina so much, and like obviously Farina, Focalors, they're two halves of the same coin. I love Farina so much for that, and I'm so happy whenever she's around. I'm excited to see what she does in the recent 4.7 patch. I think she is my favorite Archon going into Natlan.
Courtroom, seeking to judge all other gods. But even she knows not to make an enemy of the divine.
Also, 07s for Focalor. What a fucking goat. She was like, screw Celestia, screw this divine throne I've been sitting on for the last 500 years. And Nouvelette, here's your power back, homie. This is the next thing we're getting into now with Natlan.
The rules of war are woven in the womb. The victors shall burn bright, while the losers must turn to ash.
Okay. We got to break this down, chat, okay? Incandescent Ode to Resurrection. And apparently, the subtext underneath this message says, "Rise, O strong man, and go to your destined victory." I'm not going to say who I want it to be, but I actually thought of Capitano when I heard that. Let the Capitano glazing begin, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I'm Capitano's #1 fan. I don't care what anybody says, all right? Bro's rank 1 of the Harbingers. You know what that means? That means he's automatically better than any other Harbinger. That includes your favorite, unless you're a man of culture or a lady of culture, in which you're also a Capitano fan. So don't shoot the messenger, okay? I'm just speaking facts. Rank #1, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, rise, O strong man, and go to your destined victory. Capitano is gonna walk his ass into Natlan like he owns the place. The land of war. Bro literally was like, I want all the smoke. This is a place where people fight. I'm down for this shit. And he's here to get the freaking Gnosis, and he's gonna walk in that bitch. He's gonna body and two-piece everyone, including the Traveler, if the Traveler has half a mind to think that he can beat him when he just got finessed by Arlecchino of all people. And then he's just gonna walk out of there. And I'm so excited. I'm so ready for it, dude. But yeah, I thought of Capitano when I saw the subtext of the Natlan Archon quest. But it says, the rules of war are woven in the womb. So that implies that you are taught from birth to fight if you're from Natlan. Like, you literally are born to fight. The victors shall burn brightly while the losers must turn to ash. So that implies that there are winners and there are losers. The winners write the history books, the losers die. I don't know if there's anything greater to that. I'm sure there is, but because we have no context of anything, we can't look deeper than like what these words mean at face value. But I'm wondering if, like, what does it mean to burn bright as a victor? What does it mean to be turned to ash? Like, they have an ashen land, right? They have the Mare Javari. Is the Mare Javari just a freaking place where all the freaking losers go to die and they just turn into ash, and that's what the Mare Javari is? It's just a plain of corpses. I have no idea. That's what I have to think. If it's not so simple, I have to let myself run into like the crack theory realm in order for things to make sense.
When the god of war shares this secret with the Traveler, it is because she has her reasons.
Okay, first off, big shout out to Iansan here. I don't know if any of you guys were around during version 1.4 where I watched all of these trailers for the first time, and I was like, oh my god, is this the first Genshin Impact character to be a fisticuffs character, to fight with their fists? And it's so crazy that that's the thought process back during 1.4. And since then, it's pretty much commonplace with Shikanoin Heizo and Risley at this point. And to an extent, like even Dia's ultimate, like she just fucking beats the shit out of her opponents. So I'm still down for Iansan to be like a fisticuffs, like pyro explosive fighter who fights with their freaking hands and feet. That shit would be so cool. This is also where we found out that the God of War is a woman, because it says, when the God of War shares this secret with the Traveler, it is because she has her reasons. So I don't know if he's referring to what he just said prior, which was like, hey, the God of War tells Aether that this is a land where you are born to fight and the winners burn brightly and the losers turn to ash. That doesn't seem like a secret. So I guess the God of War is going to relay a secret to Aether or to the Traveler, and she's doing that for unknown reasons. This is just the most secret ever. Because it's a secret, we have no idea what it implies to even infer anything, at least for right now. But yeah, this is so perplexing because this was the first thing we ever got. And now that we're going into our 6th nation, it's crazy because when you listen to Dainsleif talk about the other ones, after you finish the quest, it's like, oh, that's what he meant. But like, we're so in the dark about what these words mean. And it's frustrating because I know for a fact when we finish that Pyro Archon quest and we come back and read this, it's gonna make sense. I don't know. They did such a good job with it. Like, and this was years beforehand, so they were years ahead of the curve. They knew what the story was going to be like. It was airtight. They had everything figured out, and now they're just putting it into video game form. Like, they're animating everything. They're adding all the lands and stuff like that. And so, I don't know. It's just really exciting. One thing I'm actually going to do, one of my mods just informed me. It's been a while. It has been. But we are going to take a gander at an archive of Nahida's second Archon quest story for a conversation she had with a pep.
We all once believed in the distant past
So
that
funny.
only forbidden knowledge could give us enough power to defeat the heavenly
Monstadt
kingdoms.
music in the background.
The Dragon King acquired the power of darkness from outside of this world and led us in a fight against the order established by the outsiders.
Dragon King?
Nibelung.
An unimaginable war took place into that, causing destruction on an unprecedented scale. The world itself was on the verge of collapse. In war, the victor would inherit the right to shape the world.
Ah, this line.
While the losers must turn into ash.
Yeah.
But I didn't give up on searching for a way to turn the tides, even after the death of the Dragon King.
Yeah, they're probably going to try to revive the Dragon King. Even after the death of the Dragon King, Incandescent Ode to Resurrection, in war, the victors would inherit the right to shape the world while the losers must turn into ash. And Nibelung fought against the heavenly principles. So the enemy of my enemy, maybe that is what Saritsa is doing. Maybe she's trying to get the Gnosis to revive Nibelung potentially. Okay, so these are the rules woven in the womb. So they're taught that if you fight and you win, you get to reshape the world. And if you don't, you fall over and you let someone else lead. It's more or less like the strong survive, the weak perish, but obviously there's depth to it in regards to the current order of things when it comes to Celestia and all of these nations that all seem to have a problem with how they're running things or how things are in the world in general. Maybe it's more biological than taught. That would be interesting too, if it's like a natural instinct of like dragons, maybe even like Saurians. Because I don't know if that's referring to like humans of the region or if it's the Saurians or like any type of other dragon kinds of this nation. You also have to consider if we're gonna see a Pyro Sovereign, if there's the Pyro Sovereign in this nation, because that's another important thing to consider. That's the first piece of information, just the whole setup of Natlan from Dainsley's perspective, that there's this secret of the world that the God of War tells to the traveler. And I guess that kind of establishes, I guess, the system or the culture or the law of understanding within Natlan, especially with everything else that's happened. And then Incandescent Ode to Resurrection with Nibelung, the Dragon King, being defeated or killed in the past implies that something or someone is going to be revived. And this is like a big kind of scale war. This is the last Gnosis that the Saritsa also needs to enact her plans if she has her own Gnosis, which I'm assuming she does. Could Nibelung be potentially revived? Because she would have 7 Gnoses. 1 Gnosis enhances elemental powers. 2 Gnosis can access Irminsul. What can 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Gnosis be capable of? I think it would be easy by that stretch of the imagination to bring back the dead. So next, we're gonna talk to Stanley. Stanley was a part of Venti's first and only story quest. Chat, I swear to God, there is no way they're not giving us a second Venti story quest. Venti is connected to Istaroth, which is connected to time, which is connected to Fanis, which is connected to Celestia. There's no shot we're not getting a second Venti story quest after Snezhnaya at some point. Ludi Harpastum will be there. Istaroth may be revealed. Venti will be more integral to the plot, and it's gonna come back full circle. The game started in Mondstadt, the game will end in Mondstadt before we go to Celestia. Varka will be there, and everything will be great, and Venti will have the freaking glow up of a century. Dornman Port will be revealed as well. All will be well in the world. Nature will be healing, and at the end of it all, Venti enjoyers and Venti fans are gonna be like, oh my God, they saved Peak for the very end. And I know it's gonna happen. It's definitely happening, bro. I think Venti is like the most powerful Archon. He's continuing to be revered even though he's never around. And that's how Archons derive their strength. Motherfuckers are blessing Barbados, the animal Archon, when bro never does his job. I think that that's relevant. And apparently the statue in the court mentions gateway to Celestia. So I actually think Venti is the key to Celestia as well. Yeah, we got introduced to Hans Archibald, aka Stanley, from Venti's first story quest, which talked about their journey into the Mare Javari, Stanley and Hans, where we learned about Stanley's legendary stories about fighting monsters and stuff. And he actually died in the Ashen Sea of the Mare Javari, which was such an emotional quest at the time too. It was kind of like paralleling Venti's experience with the Nameless Bard. And it was one of the most powerful story quests during the initial release of Mondstadt and the initial release of Genshin. You know, that's where we learned about Venti as a wind spirit. We learned about the Nameless Bard, about Amos, about the Ragvinder descendants and things of that nature, and how that all kind of came together to frame Venti's liberation of Mondstadt from Decarabian, which was super compelling. That at the time was peak for Genshin during year one, and Stanley is the remnants of Hans's friend that he now lives on and continuing to tell his story, you know, because he's just so crestfallen by guilt that his friend died in the Mare Javari. His spirit was there until Venti freed him, which was a really emotional scene too. We got Stanley here, who continues to talk about the great adventure Stanley stories. We actually asked, hey, tell us a tale. Ah, so you want to hear more? I'll make this an occasion and tell you the real version. On the other side of this continent, there is a barren domain where nothing grows. A sea of ashes with nothing but silence that will make your ears ring. Goes on and on. The monster created a vortex in the Ashen Sea, and I would have been sucked into it if Stanley had not held tightly onto my hand. Goes on and on. Sadly, I was the only one who returned home to Mondstadt with tears in my eyes. 07s for Stanley, ladies and gentlemen. He was the GOAT. He was a real one. So we're probably going to the Mare Javari. I wonder if we're going to see any type of remnants of Stanley, like if his sword is still in the field, like if his sword's like stuck in the ground, his clothes or something, or like any remnants of him left behind. And obviously there are monsters within the Mare Javari. You know what I was thinking of actually? This reminds me a little bit of Havria. Like, I wonder if the Mare Javari was created due to a god dying there. When Havria died, she like exploded into salt and like destroyed the entire area. I wonder if the Mare Javari was like that. Like if the previous Pyro Archon, for example, if she died and like blew up into like a molten ash, and that is what the Mare Javari is now. Or if there's a god of ash that instead did that or something. I wonder if that could be the cause for the conditions of the Mare Javari, because I don't know if that's like a natural phenomenon. I don't know if that's abyssal influence, kind of like the Tatarigami or the Murata or the Filth or whatever. So, or like the Withering, like maybe it's like a Withering equivalent, but for the desert or for the Mare Javari, for Natlan. It could either be a celestial nail that's fucking up the area, a god died there, or it's somehow related to the abyss and the environment, like the lava or the volcanoes or whatever. And yeah, I want to see, I want to hear, I want to know a little bit more about Stanley. Like even, I think it was, I think Ji-Chong, was it Ji-Chong that mentioned Stanley by name? She was like, oh, I want to be a great adventurer like the legendary Stanley, like in her letter to us. So like Stanley's known in the world. If there's anywhere I want Stanley to be known, I definitely want it to be Natlan, especially if that's where he died. Shout out to Hans Archibald. I'm very excited to get to that point of the game because that was the first instance of learning about Natlan's Mare Javari. We didn't even know it was in Natlan. We just knew about the Mare Javari being a place in the world. And so now, looking forward to it, and I hope we get some Stanley tidbits in there. So from there, we're actually going to be jumping into a little bit more off text here. So from the Dainsleif teaser here, the next bit that we know about Natlan are... So I was told that the Children of Murata was actually a mistranslation in the manga. Can someone confirm that, please? Because I have no idea if that's true or not. If that is not true, I'm going to be so sad. Murata was like the only thing that kept us tangibly connected to Himiko Murata, who's literally like the best person that could be a representation of the Pyro Archon. I heard that that was a mistranslation. I have no idea. So for this video, I'm going into this with that assumption. If you guys haven't read it yet, read the Genshin Impact manga. The first chapter, the prologue chapter, is peak. The rest of it's really good too, but the first one is so goated. It talks about the liberation of Mondstadt during the aristocracy with Venti, Lady Vanessa, who was a slave from Natlan that was sold and brought to Mondstadt to live under, you know, the aristocratic era. And she was known, amongst others, as a child of Murata, which seems to be like an early tribe during like 1,000 years ago for Natlan, I assume. It was a tribe in Natlan that described people with red hair to be children of the god of war, or children of the Pyro Archon, I think. Not the Pyro Archon, but like the god of that time. So, and obviously you think of Murata, you think of Himiko, and you also probably think of Diluc, who is the only other character in the game with this burning bright red hair, similar to Vanessa, and he might be a descendant of hers, you know, given that she lived the rest of her life out in Mondstadt. She was the Lion Fang Knight. She was the Grandmaster of Mondstadt for a time. Actually, this shot right here confirms it in this teaser for Venti with the 4 winds. This is Lady Vanessa. She is the Grandmaster of Mondstadt during this point, and she obviously lived the rest of her life out. This was during the time of the Ragvinder clan, the Gunhildr clan, and the Lawrence clan. Yep, that checks out too. This is Himiko from Honkai Impact 3rd, and this is Himiko from Honkai Star Rail. So we're just missing a Himiko from Genshin Impact, and we'll have the whole trio together. I think there's nobody else better suited to be the previous Pyro Archon. And the reason I say the previous Pyro Archon, and I don't mean to be that guy, right? But like, realistically, this character is known for her death flags. She's red from head to toe. She is a red flag in and of herself, okay? We know that Venti and Zhongli are the only original Archons of the original 7, which means all of the original Archons of the other elements have already died or been replaced. Probably died at this point, right? Egeria, Greater Lord Rukkhadevata. The same has to be for the Cryo Archon and the Pyro Archon. And I think it would just be appropriate if the previous one was Himiko. Not because I want her to be dead and not relevant in the present, but thematically, for her character, and thematically for, you know, just being an Archon that's no longer alive. And Makoto, yeah, Ride and Makoto as well. Obviously, this treads back because that was the first instance that we learned about other Natlan characters, like, more prominently in the story, right? With Venti and, again, the manga content, if you guys haven't checked it out. And the tribes. So I don't know if the children of Murata exist within the present-day Natlan, because that's another thing, too. Present-day Natlan, I feel like, is a lot different. I don't know if there were dragons living amongst the people back then with Vanessa, because she never really talked about... I don't think she ever really talked about that, or ever even mentioned dragons to that extent. There were dragons in the world, though, because I remember there was one shot in the manga where there were like 2 dragons flying in the sky, like above like Mondstadt, right? And you also had like Ursa the Drake. So obviously there were like general dragons living amongst the area, not necessarily the ancient ones. Yeah, and because she was sold into slavery, she obviously doesn't know about her lineage and her history. I actually think it was Venti. Venti was the one that mentioned the god of war. So I think it was from Venti's perspective when he was like, oh, you're a child of Murata. And that's how we learned about it. It wasn't even from her, it was from Venti. So, and obviously Venti would know since, you know, he knows everything, I feel like. So Lady Vanessa is another interesting topic that I don't know if that's also going to be something that's addressed, and not necessarily Vanessa herself, but just like, are we going to see any other red-haired characters in the game? Are any of those red-haired characters going to be playable? Is the Children of Murata tribe still a thing in Natlan? Because I think there's 6 tribes. I think the 6 symbols that they showed from the Natlan teaser, it was twofold. I think it was representing the different types of Saurians, but also the different tribes of Natlan. And each one probably has like a different territory space within the nation. Moving on from there, we got this guy. You guys are probably like, wait a minute, why are we in Inazuma? This is kind of weird. This is Aikawa Susumu, the owner of the Bathhouse, and he actually has some information on Natlan as well, if you guys didn't know. Let the Isa Bathhouse warm your heart. Experience the glamour of Natlan. Ah, it's a traveler from afar. What a rare guest. Welcome. The glamour of Natlan? Ha! It might be a bit too much to call it a glamour. Isa Bathhouse is a hot spring inn in Inazuma, and I found it after experiencing the volcanic hot springs in Natlan. The second I read this during 2.0, I immediately thought of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Go figure, right? Genshin Breath of the Wild comparisons. That's crazy. Volcanic hot springs, because in Breath of the Wild, when you go to like Death Mountain and you go into like those hot springs, it actually heals your character. And I remember when Fontaine came out and we fought the crab boss, I was like, oh, there's like bubbly water over here. I wonder if it heals your character. And it actually slowly kills you, actually. So I don't think we're going to be getting healed by the waters, because that would make the statues of the 7 obsolete. And I don't think Genshin wants that. The healing powers my ass. All right, the healing on opposite day. The healing power of a hot spring is unforgettable once you've tried it. After I returned home, I also wanted my friends in Inazuma to experience the same warm and comforting feeling. Bruh. They really said, no, you can't heal in those because we made the statues of the 7 for you. I had no idea Isa Bathhouse would become so popular. Even some big shots frequent this place. Sometimes it makes me regret setting the price so low. Ooh, I actually didn't get this option from him. I guess I didn't do this option initially, but if you talk to him, you get an item. What's Natlan like? Haha, it's nothing like Inazuma, which has oceans surrounding it. Natlan is a country of red hot passion, both in name and climate. I'm not looking forward to that shit. You know, we had to deal with sheer cold on Dragonspine. Now you're telling me there's a whole nation and it comes out in the summertime too? So I'm gonna be hot when I go outside IRL and then I play my video game and I'm gonna be dying in the video game too from the heat. That's crazy. What I said might be a bit confusing, but here are some souvenirs I brought back. You can have them. Who knows, you might be able to get a sense of Natlan's scorching temperatures. What'd he give me? Oh, he gave me a pyro fragment. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. How the hell are we gonna stay cool in that nation? Our skin's gonna just melt off our bones when we get there, I swear to God. Hey, look at this. We're in Natlan, guys. The volcanic hot springs with healing properties like that one guy just mentioned. Oh no, I'm slowly dying. This is crazy. Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs? So these next couple bits here are actually going to be from previous VODs that I've done. So we actually learned from Augustus Lovelace, an NPC during the Recollections of a Fontanian quest that came out during Sumeru. He actually is the one that tells us where Natlan is located, which it's located east. I thought you said west. It's located east of the desert. This is the VOD that we went through. Shout out to everyone that's in the chat from that point in time. Who knows? Maybe I'll cross the desert on my way back. Anyways, I've got some extra mora to spend, and paying a visit to Natlan on the other side of the desert sounds nice too. Wow. All right, I won't keep you any longer. Thanks for helping me with the photo. Please accept this as a token of my gratitude. I'm off to write to Xavier. If he still won't come to Sumeru, I might as well go back to Fontaine. Hey, look at that. Ooh, this guy. I remember exactly what I said. The crumbs. So it's on the other side of the desert. Yeah. So is it confirmed over here? Like on this side? Is it down here then? It's got to be on that side to an extent. The other side of the desert. That seems like it might be south then, like down here. It's on the side of the desert. I don't know if it's on the upper side or the lower side because they just kept giving us more and more desert. So we have like this entire left east side from top to bottom. I don't know if it's going to be closer to... Actually, it might be closer to the Harvest Takum because the one shot in the teaser showed like a piece of the Harvest Takum, so it actually might be at the top. Another thing, and this is something that a lot of people don't know, because this was revealed by a limited time NPC during an event from version 2.0 in Inazuma called the Phantom Flow. Now, unfortunately, I did this event off stream because it was primarily a combat focused stream. However, I did do the event. I talked to the NPC and I don't remember what VOD it was, but I did recall the information to my chat at the time. But in this event, we got a martial artist, Shinryu, who kind of introduced this 2.0 event during Inazuma's release. And this is the NPC here. He's a Shinryu master. His name is Shosen. And he actually is the one that reveals to us that there are people in Natlan who practice the art of shadow boxing. And not only that, but the little kid in Inazuma, his name is Kid Tamari. Kid Kujirai. It's the kid that you played the Tamari ball game with, right? So that kid met Alice on her journey. And Alice and this kid learned and developed a new art, like a new martial arts style from this guy, and it's called Kujirai art Tamari Jutsu. And it's funny because the kid's name is Kujirai and the game that they play is Tamari. So Alice literally made a martial arts style based on the kid's name and the ball game. So it's called Kujirai art Tamari Jutsu. If you go to Aloy's Collected Miscellany, which was voiced by Alice, in the description here, these are all of Alice's titles. Great Adventurer of the Realms, Dodo King, Defender of Old Mondstadt, author of the Teyvat Travel Guide, originator of the Kujirai art Tamari Jutsu, supplier of the renowned Lord Sagemabe, mother of the most adorable Klee, Alice. I think Alice if or when she actually, it's probably more of like a when Alice becomes playable, I guarantee you that's the art she's going to use. And the Tamari ball, if it's a part of that, might just be replaced with bombs if she fights like Klee does, or if Klee fights like she does. Dory was revealed, or Dory was teased before Sumeru. Well, this guy also shadow boxing, which is like hand-to-hand combat. So that's why I also thought that that gave more credence to Iansan being a brawler, like, or a fisticuffs or a hand-to-hand fighter, because this was also before Shikano and Heizo came out. And now with Shikano and Heizo and Risley, and to an extent Dia, I actually think that there's a greater chance for some characters to be like that. I just assume that at this point, they're all going to be Catalyst users because that's the only workaround for them to be able to fight like that. I actually haven't interacted with this NPC yet, so this is going to be new information for me. But apparently, Beta Harbor has an NPC here that talks a little bit about Natlan, like the atmosphere, the culture of Natlan to an extent. So he says, that's the way young people should be, sailing unfurled, revved up, ready to go, and all that, just like those boats. Youngsters heading out to sea? Question mark? Oh, yeah, let me use Nahida mind scan after this, too. Indeed, I mean, look at them, all fired up like that. When I was a lad, I too had the sea as my home, and I sailed everywhere on a patrol boat, even up to the border with Natlan. I'd go out there again if I could. You've been to Natlan? Natlan's youth is as energetic as our own. No, in fact, I'd call what they have something else. It's almost as if their souls were forged for war from birth. It's almost like Dainsleif knows what he's talking about. The rules of war are woven in the womb. It's almost as if their souls were forged for battle from birth. Maybe that's why they don't leave. Maybe they're like compelled to fight. And it's not necessarily like, well, I don't want to go to the other nations because they have nothing to offer. It's like, I don't want to go to those other nations because there's no fighting allowed. I don't want to say they're like biologically engineered to fight, because that's kind of weird. Like, what do you get out of that? Like, what happens? But he says it's as if their souls were forged for battle. That almost kind of implies that, like, you are created as a fighting machine from the time you were born. Don't mistake my meaning. They aren't barbarians. On the contrary, they love street graffiti. Oh my god, they love street graffiti, showing off and comparing fashionable trinkets. Well, we saw the street graffiti in the Natlan teaser, so that's kind of true. I wonder if he's talking about the Saurians then. Because, like, the street graffiti was amongst their territory. He doesn't say dragons, he doesn't say Saurians, but I'm wondering if that's the implication. It's a colorful, contradictory, charming place. Come to think of it, I'm practically getting younger over here. Come to think of it, I'm practically getting younger over here, and yet our head administrator is always using "you need more rest" as an excuse to leave me idle. Oh my god, that's so funny. That's actually kind of accurate too. This guy came out before they showed off Natlan's tease, which is insane. I'd also love to go out to sea one more time. Let this poor old man out at sea, goddammit. Let him have this, okay? He's lived a life. He's paid his dues. Let him just do that. Sheesh. Actually, it's funny how he says it's very contradictory, because a lot of people have said this too, and I think we've only seen one instance of Natlan. It's not the whole thing, but the part of Natlan we saw is very colorful, very vibrant, very not war-torn. And that is, to an extent, kind of contradictory to what we know of it thus far. But like I said, they expand these areas every couple of patches. I'm pretty sure we're going to get the battle, war-torn, Merjavari, depressing, like devastating, blood-sunken regional areas added as well. But it's also very interesting because they also showed us an aspect of the wildlife. Like, just because the nation is war-torn doesn't mean it's war-torn where there's no humans, right? We saw 3 aspects of the areas where the Saurians mainly cultivate and mainly hang out. And I think that that's still relevant too, because they seem to be more of like wildlife, even though they're living amongst humans or living besides humans. We're going to talk to another NPC who gives us a little extra information on Natlan as well. Sir, is that you? Let's fucking go! Lectore! I sure hope she likes the present I picked out ever so carefully. No, sir, I do not want to duel you right now. A present? That's right. I've chosen something special from Fontaine to give to my lady love. Oh, the Mr. Casanova over here. Look at this man. Curious, I'd hope. All the other sailors hurried off to the court of Fontaine the moment we came ashore. I only came back here. Sailing is hard work, yeah, but I truly look forward to setting sail once more to see my lady love in Natlan. When it comes to passion, I am nothing if but a serious man. If all goes well, I would even be willing to change lines of work to stay with her. But there are quite a few tribes where she lives, and different tribes come with different rules. Will I be able to integrate smoothly? I can also see conflict popping up if that's how severe it is. Like, every nation has their own rules. I'm sorry, every tribe has its own rules and customs, and maybe some butt heads more with others. Maybe some don't get along well, and that's why there's constant war at play. It would really also suck if this is like a systemic problem. That's like, there's always gonna be war, because there's always gonna be conflict, because there's always gonna be differences, because that's what's been sewn into their souls from birth. Like, it's literally like a cultural and systemic issue that goes on in perpetuity. I don't know if this is like an orchestrated issue or if this is like an organic issue. But yeah, so that's very interesting. So he wants to be with a girl who's from Natlan, and so that kind of implies that there are like regular people that live there, despite the fact that we've never seen those people outside of Lady Vanessa. And again, I wonder if that's a custom thing. I wonder if there's a reason why people don't leave Natlan, if they're not allowed to, if they're under a curse if they leave or something like that. Also, really quick, just want to shout out, since we're talking about like Natlan characters, Bennett. When we read Bennett's story a couple of years ago, it's one of these passages here that kind of imply, I think it's this one actually. This passage, his character story too, implies that Bennett was born like in the Mare Javari or somewhere crazy, like insanely hellish. The scorching flames scalded his skin, the deafening thunder almost ruptured his eardrums, and the howling wind threatened to rip his soul from him. At the end of his hellish journey, what awaited him was a baby. So Bennett can also have ties to Natlan as well. That's been a long-running like theory that myself and a lot of other people have come to. Bennett is also incredibly unlucky, so that could also be like a curse placed on him if he was born in a very disastrous spot like the Mare Javari. That'd be insane. Pyro Archon? But Bennett's not a girl, allegedly. Apparently. You know what would be funny about that though? Bennett is cursed, and so are the Gnosis. The Gnosis are like cursed items. What if that's not a vision on his hip? What if that's a Gnosis in hiding, and that's why bro is perpetually unlucky? Bennett is the Pyro Sovereign Dragon. That'd be crazy, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's that crazy. Bennett being from Natlan would be kind of cool and also somewhat understandable. Bro is literally the closest thing to the Pyro Archon. He's the Pyro Archon at home. He's literally like Xingqiu. Xingqiu was literally the Hydro Archon before Fontaine came out, and Bennett is literally the Pyro Archon before Natlan comes out. So it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? It makes sense for him if he's from Natlan, if he was blessed with a Pyro Gnosis. I'm sorry, with a Pyro Vision, not a Gnosis. Oh God, I broke NDA. Chat, you can't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody I just said that, please. Please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody I said that. What I meant to say was, that's a very interesting Pyro vision he has on his hip there. Let me just leave it at that. And bro was born on a leap year. Bro was born February 29th in the Mare Javari. Like, how much more unlucky do you need to be? Oh my God, and Natlan releases on a leap year. Yeah, this year was a leap year. Bro, that's wild. Holy shit, that's peak. That's, yeah, they definitely planned that, bro. They had to have. People in chat, as well as people watching this VOD, I would love to know, who do you think Shibalanke is? This was Nouvelette's official drip marketing. Shout out to Windflower Leah, by the way. What is this line? Someone... Someday when they return, what? This was before, you know, the full confirmation of Nouvelette's sovereignty. But Nouvelette's drip marketing came out, and this passage was released. Someday, when they return, their true ordeal shall begin. This is the only line that this person mentioned about Nouvelette, and it was from someone called Shibalanke, one entombed with the primal fire. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this is the Pyro Dragon Sovereign of Fire, solely because of the primal fire bit. Primal fire, primordial. It kind of lines up. So they're talking about Nouvelette. So they say someday when they return, their true ordeal shall begin. So I think what this is implying is Xbalanque is saying when Nouvelette gets his full dragon sovereignty back, shit's gonna go down. And lo and behold, Nouvelette got his full sovereignty back and he's judging everybody. Shit's really about to go down. But yeah, I think Xbalanque, one entombed with the primal fire, that has to be a sovereign. And here's the thing, Xbalanque has to be an actual dragon because Nouvelette is the only sovereign that was to be reincarnated in the form of a human. So Xbalanque is probably not going to be playable if they're a dragon, like a whole ass dragon, unless it's the Archon, unless it's the new Pyro Archon. Entombed would imply dead though, right? The one buried with the primal fire. But like, dragons reincarnate, dragons resurrect though. Also, when would this quote have been said then if they're already dead? You know what I mean? Or this could be the ode to resurrection, right? Because dragons should be able to be revived. So I'm wondering, or entombed could also mean like imprisoned with the primal fire, or maybe the primal fire was forced onto them, right? Entombed could almost imply that they're a prison for the primal fire. There's a lot of different interpretations for this. This is also giving like Prometheus vibes, like Prometheus brought fire to mortals kind of energy. We know what happens when an Archon appropriated the primordial sea, right, with Egeria. She got in trouble for that, and her nation got in trouble for that. So we now have someone entombed with primal fire, and hopefully they don't do the same thing. Is there a side-by-side? There's no way for me to see Bennett and Iansan side by... Actually, let me look that up real quick. All right, chat. What do you think? I didn't even realize this too, but they both have like a little band-aid on their nose. What the fuck? Hoyoverse, what are you doing? And they're both 5 stars. Imagine. Whitish blonde hair, green eyes, band-aid. You know what really pisses me off, chat? I'll be honest with you. You know what really ticks me off? So every year when a new nation comes out, they always give us an event for the launching patch. For 2.0, we got a beta event. We got the Thunder Sojourn event where we got a free beta. In 3.0, we got Graven Innocence and we got a free collie. We go to the Hydro Nation and they give us a Bennett. So now, when we go to the Pyro Nation, we're not gonna get a Bennett, especially if Bennett is relevant to that nation. And I'm just like, huh? They should just give us Xingqiu. Just flip it. But yeah, so for 5.0, we're probably going to get another limited event focused on a character, and we're going to get a free 4-star of that character, unless they decide to give us like a free Natlan character for that event, but it's usually a previously released character that they do that for. For Pyro, who would it be though? I'm like drawing a blank on the 4-star Pyros. There's Amber, but she's a starter. They would never give us a free starter for an event. And then there's Bennett, but they just gave out Bennett. They gave Gaming with the Stand By Me event. Maybe Shangling? Maybe a free Shangling would be nice. Or Yanfei. You know what? I don't know though. Yeah, let it be Shangling. Let her cook up a... I was gonna say she cooks up like a Saurian. She just goes to Natlan and just starts killing the wildlife and cooking food for everybody using their corpse. But yeah, I'm assuming we're gonna get a free Pyro character. I doubt it's gonna be Chevreuse. Toma would be kind of weird. Maybe Xinyan, but I don't really know how they'd make it make sense for it to be her. For Bennett, it would make sense because he's already like super tied to Natlan for all of the little context clues. Shangling, she's a traveling like cook. That would make sense. But everyone else is just kind of out of place. Unless they flipped the script and they gave us a Pyro character in the Hydro region, so then when we go to the Pyro region, we're gonna get a Hydro character. Like I said, they could also give us a new free 4-star, but I don't really know if they would do something like that. Then again, I mean, they gave us Kali right when the nation came out from that event, so they could probably do it again, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Since they never explicitly stated that Murata is the original Archon, do you think it still be possible that she's the current one? I'll be honest, I feel like I'm conditioned to just assume that she's dead because of Honkai Impact 3rd and like the fandom and the expectations of that character. Like, people are literally counting down the days until Himiko dies in Star Rail. You know what I mean? So like in my mind, I also think like I feel like they would continue that with this game by having her already be deceased as the previous Pyro Archon. But I don't know. It's not impossible because it hasn't been stated. She could very well be the current one, which if that's the case, all hell is gonna break loose when she comes out on the banner. Can you imagine Himiko Murata, the Pyro Archon, playable in Genshin Impact? But yeah, she could very well still be around. But yeah, I do think Shibalunke or Shibalunk, I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm saying Balunke. I think they are probably the Sovereign, or they may be the keeper of the primal fire of Natlan. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're not an Archon. Maybe they're not a Sovereign. Maybe they're just like an old keeper of sorts that's preserving wherever it is, you know? It says one entombed with the primal fire. So it sounds like there's a keeper of the primal fire looking after it to make sure it doesn't fall into wrong hands or something like that. Here's another thing that I thought too, guys. This is one that I'm wondering if they're gonna elaborate on at all. I know Nouvelette said that there is a coexistence with humans and dragons. Dragons have evolved over thousands of years, hundreds of years, and they've now entered this like coexistence with humanity. I don't think this is just a solely mutually beneficial coexistence. I actually wrote in my notes here, are they teammates or are they like indentured servants to humans? Because that's another great way to start a conflict, is if you had humans that are treating these creatures like slaves, essentially. Like, I can definitely see it being both sides. Like, some people treat them like their friends, their companions, their teammates. Some people might treat them as pets. And then there's other people that treat them as, like, lesser than creatures that are, like, tools to be used and abused. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if there's going to be any kind of conflict with them in that regard, maybe through some world quests potentially, or some like interactions with NPCs that might be not the nicest, despite the fact that these things are dragons and could probably eat anyone they see in the world. I don't know if they're kind of considered like indentured servants because of the fact that Fanis overruled the original 7 dragons, and so humanity is continuing that legacy by usurping the dragons of Natlan. I'm wondering that in general too with Natlan, because I mean, granted, it was 1,000 years ago, so times have definitely changed, but Lady Vanessa was a slave, and like her people were sold to like aristocrats back in the day. Also, I will say this place kind of is giving like prehistoric era, so it also feels like this is the most primitive of all the other nations. Like, no offense, but I feel like this is just like caveman era. It's so funny too, because we're going from the most prim and posh and like sophisticated nation, and now we're going back to the fucking Stone Ages, right? They're tribal. It makes sense. So obviously, if they think to themselves, me stronger, me better than you, you do what I say, you know what I mean? Like, I could definitely see there being like indentured servitude for humans to humans or humans to dragons. In my mind, I should have thought that because like there's tribes, but like the desert has tribes too, but the desert doesn't behave like the desert tribes don't behave like that. So in my head, I was like, oh, well, I had to remind myself, oh, but this is a bit more prehistoric, primitive than the desert. Like the desert also run in tribes, but they don't act in the same way as what I'm expecting Natlan to. So yeah, I'm kind of curious on that. And there's 6 tribes, right? So if we go back and start this up real quick. So let's just watch this out real quick. Also, shout out to the music, like the best part of this entire video. So these guys are the miners, like they have like the drill noses and they burrow underground. Shout out to the graffiti work as well that was mentioned earlier. This is so cool. That's literally a playable instance right there. I'm wondering how this is gonna work. Do we assume the role of the dragon? Do we turn into the like, I just don't understand from the perspective how this plays out. It might actually have to do with the statue of the 7 as well. Cause like, we're going to interact with the statue of the 7, then I think that's going to trigger something in terms of us interacting with the dragons, right? Similar to how when we interacted with any of the other ones, more specifically the Natlan statue of the 7 allowed us to be able to breathe and swim underwater. Like Sarush. But the thing with Sarush is a little different because Aether wouldn't Aether be in place the whole time? and then Sarush would do her thing. So like, if Aether assumes the role of the dragon, what happens to Aether? Does he just stay in place, or does he become a dragon? I don't know. So maybe when we start, this is the total amount of Saurians we have access to. These are obviously the 3 that they're showcasing. Also the Triquetra, Jesus Christ, literally Genshin Impact. But these are the 3 that they're showing out of a potential 6. And because these all have different like tribal markings, like I'm assuming the graffiti is to let other tribes know, hey, this is our territory. So this is the territory of the little earth drill Saurians. This area is the territory of the water / lava ones, the swimming ones. And then this territory is of like these green Yoshi looking ones. And they all have like their own little like graffiti markings to indicate. So you can even see it in the background there. Like they all have different graffiti markings. So I'm assuming 6 different areas, 6 different kind of Saurians, 1 per area per tribe is what I'm gonna assume. And then I don't know what the other 3 are. I'm assuming each one has like maybe like a different element. So we saw Geo, Hydro / Pyro. I'll say that other one's more Hydro because it's more of like swimming versus like, I know this is lava and this is fire, but like it's the act of swimming, which implies water. So I'm going to say that it's Geo, Hydro, and Dendro. Like this one's definitely giving Dendro. I also love how there's 6, you know, instead of 7, because like we just took down the divine throne of the Hydro dragon. Oh, the Hydro Archon. I wonder if there's only 6 because of that too. Yeah, also the eyes kind of remind me of Nahida as well. Yeah, so 3 out of the 7 elements here. These are dragons technically, right? I wonder if they breathe fire. Because like in usual stories of fiction, it's usually female dragons that breathe fire. So I'm wondering if all of them have like different properties together, or if only like the fire dragons can breathe fire. So moving on from all this dragon talk, let's talk about Peak. All right, you want to talk about Peak? You want to talk about a man of culture? You want to talk about the best of the best? The GOAT. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Definitely not coping, rank #1 of the Fatui Harbingers. Better than your Fatui Harbinger, stronger than your Fatui Harbinger. Sorry you had to find out this way, but I want to remind everybody, okay? I chose this man before we knew anything about anyone, and I guess I just know how to pick him. Capitano. Capitano. My boy, my favorite Harbinger. I am so excited for this guy. You guys are probably sick of hearing me already say this, but I am going to be an insufferable bastard when this guy comes out. If he's playable, you better unfollow me when that shit happens, because you're gonna get sick and tired of hearing me yapping about how much better this guy is than anything and everyone. I will officially become Capitano's #1 glazer on social media. Nobody will love this man more than I do. I pray to fucking God that he is the Bloodstained Knight of Mondstadt, the White Knight turned Bloodstained Knight. It would be even crazier if he was Emunlauker from the Salvandagnir era of Mondstadt. I'm so excited for this guy. He looks so badass. I have not even seen nearly as many. I mean, I'm not a part of like any subreddits or like Twitter accounts that main this guy, but like I have not seen the same level of hype for him as I've seen like Scaramouche or Arlecchino or whatever. But like, that's fine. More for me. There's more for me. All right, I will gatekeep this man from others, because I guarantee you when Capitano pops off or when something crazy happens, you're gonna have everyone coming out the woodwork. I'm gonna be like, where were you? Where were you when Winter Night's Lazo dropped a couple years ago? Where were you over the last couple of years? I was shooting in the gym by myself, looking around. There was no one there but me and whoever's in my Twitch chat at twitch.tv/murder of birds that also likes Capitano. Capitano can't be the Bloodstained Knight. Bloodstained Knight joined the Abyss. That's not true. You know why? Because it doesn't say he necessarily joined the Abyss, okay? To join the Abyss could just simply mean he joined the Abyss, not the Abyss Order. It's similar to Jacob in Fontaine. Jacob tapped into the power of the Abyss, but he was like, oh, I'm not like those fucking primitive monkeys. I'm on another level. You know what I mean? I think he means it in the sense of like he joined the Abyss itself, like the nature of the Abyss. Maybe he's using the abyssal powers, kind of like Skirk or Child. But I don't think he literally said, I joined the Abyss Order. And even if he did, what if he just left? What if he joined them, learned what he wanted to learn, and then they're both the enemy of my enemy. They're both trying to take down Celestia, so Both things can be true. So he went from Imunlauker to the White Knight, from the White Knight to the Bloodstained Knight, from the Bloodstained Knight to the Abyss Order, and then from the Abyss Order to Capitano. He's like a Pokemon or a Digimon or whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. But this man is going to be in Natlan, and I'm going to be the happiest I think I've ever been in my life since starting Genshin Impact. I cannot wait for him to come out. If they make him play, and you know what? Here's the craziest thing. I love this guy so much, I don't even care if he's playable. I legitimately just want him to pop off. I want him to be on screen. I want him to flex. I want him to be just everything. It's going to be so good. I can't wait. This has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with him because he is him. And he's going to show up in this nation. Rank 1, bro. He's like, they were like, okay, we're going into the nation of war where we actually have to try. This is the last Gnosis that we need. So we have to send in our fucking main man. And he's going to get shit done, I believe. Aether is not stopping him. Aether got freaking punked by Arlecchino. Rank 4. Dottore, Columbina, and Capitano are, from Nahida's words, equal to like a god, like in power level, in scaling. He's not touching this man. Bro's literally joining the battle royale and he's gonna win his chicken dinner. And he's gonna win that Gnosis. And he's gonna walk home. We're gonna see him in Natlan. And then we're gonna see him again in Snezhnaya. Another thing too, another kind of credible thing that kind of makes me think that he is the Bloodstained Knight. Bloodstained Knight was from Mondstadt. The White Knight who turned into the Bloodstained Knight was a Knight of Favonius. And who did Grandmaster Varka have a run-in with in the north? Right? That Mika wrote the letter back to? Capitano. And he helped them out. So I also think that that would be because he has affiliations with Mondstadt. He's from Mondstadt hundreds and thousands of years ago, but he's helping out the Mondstadters of today. So I actually think that would be super badass. I can't wait. I can't wait for this man to come out. Now, if they lost Senora this man, I'm gonna be really sad because that would technically mean that his lore is already in the game. If he is the Bloodstained Knight, right? Like they killed Rosalind and then a bunch of Rosalind fans found out about her lore after she was dead because they didn't realize that her lore was already in the game with all of the artifact sets and stuff like that and weapons and description lore and all that jazz. But like, I don't even care. Like this is my favorite Harbinger. If he's playable, even better. I just want to see him. I just want to see what he does. I want to learn as much about him as possible, his lore. I want to see what he looks. I don't even know. I'll be honest. I don't know if I want to see what he looks like with his mask off. It's kind of like a Kakashi moment for any of you for any Naruto fans. Like, I actually kind of preferred just seeing Kakashi with his mask on all the time. I didn't really ever care if he took it off. There is one thing though. He has blue eyes. He has blue eyes because in Mika's character story lore, he says that he looked at Capitano and he had like these piercing blue chilling aura eyes. We just know that his eyes are blue. He looks like he has long black hair, if that is a part of his head and not his like mask. I'm so excited, dude. Holy shit. Just listen to this man.
Irresistible.
Though her methods tarnished her honor, Loafalta's sacrifice is a great pity.
Bruh.
Her loss shall not hinder our progress. But Dottore, what of Scaramouche and the Gnosis from Inazuma?
He's the coolest freaking Harbinger. If you don't agree, you're literally Cope. Bro is actually the coolest character in Genshin Impact. We had like a month and a half before we get the next teaser. I'm probably gonna see Capitano in like a month and a half. All right, so July 15th, we shall wait and see. The last thing we get to talk about here, in fact, is the Pyro Gemstone. Well, before we get into the actual playable content and reading stuff, we have the Pyro Gemstone. For those who don't know, these gemstones kind of give us a bit of information, a little teasing, little insight here and there for the Archons in particular. And this one says, a pilgrimage for a wish, a battle to earn a name, burnt to cinders for a dream. If the intention yet remains, achieved blank's truth he has. So this seems to be referring to someone else, but they achieved someone's truth. And I'm wondering if the redacted name here is the demon name of the Pyro Archon, because it's like, it has to be like a 3 to 4 letter word because the letters would have to be small enough to fit into that tiny little redacted box. So let me look this up real quick. So we're gonna look at the Ars Goetia. So this is a list of demons in the Ars Goetia, which is like a lot of the inspirations for the demon names of characters in the game. So you guys can see here, we have Paimon, we have Barbados, Focalors, Orobas, which could be like Orobashi, Marchosius, Decarabia, so that would have been the god of storms for Mondstadt. For Boer, it says, Boer teaches natural and moral philosophy, logic, and the virtue of all herbs and plants. Knowledge and plants. Knowledge and dendro, literally Nihida. So some of these have like direct derivatives of the characters in Genshin Impact. So hold on, the one that I want to find for the Pyro Archon is Aim right here. Aim is a great duke, very strong, and rules over 26 legions of spirits. He sets cities, castles, and places on fire, makes men witty in all places, and gives true answers concerning private matters. What did Dainsleif say? When the god of war shares this secret with the traveler, it is because she has her reasons. So I think Aim, A-I-M or A-Y-M, is the name that goes into this little space right here. I'm like 95% sure. So it says, if the intention yet remains, achieved Aim's truth he has. Who is this he? It might be referring to the traveler. If she told the traveler a secret and he achieves that truth, then he has done it. Is that he because I'm Aether? Does that change if you're Lumine? No, it doesn't? Okay, never mind. It's not Aether then. It must be whoever was, right? Because so in the preview of the Incandescent Ode to Resurrection, it says, rise, O strong man, and go to your destined victory. I wonder if this strong man is who they're talking about. Maybe Xbalanque? Because I was trolling earlier. I was like, oh, it's Capitano, because that's the first person I thought. He's a strong man. But this Xbalanque person might also be them, because they are entombed with the primal fire, right? Rise, O sovereign dragon. Or Capitano, if Capitano's lore. I mean, Capitano, we don't know where he's from. If he is from Mondstadt, it's interesting that he's going to Natlan. If he's thirsting for a fight, that's one reason. But every Harbinger has, with the exception, well, yeah, every Harbinger has gone to the point of origin where they're from, right? Scaramouche went to Inazuma, Dottore went to Sumeru, Rosalind started in Mondstadt, and she even kicked her own Archon down. Arlecchino went to Fontaine. So, well, I guess technically she presents herself as being raised in Fontaine, even though she's not from there, but you know what I mean. Like, so are none of the Harbingers from Natlan then? If Capitano's from Mondstadt, if he is the Bloodstained Knight? It would just seem kind of weird if none of them are from there. Because this is the Nation of War, we did talk about this in our Arlecchino lore reading video, but Columbina could come here too with Capitano, like the two strongest Harbingers going after the Gnosis in the Nation of War. I don't know if she's from here then, but like people think that she's like a Sealy or something. Yeah, I mean, if Columbina is like this ancient person, maybe she was from Natlantian, right? Which is a cycle of the world, and maybe that could be what it's referring to. I have no idea. I've never really speculated on what I think Columbina is, other than the fact that she seems like monstrous in nature based on what the other Harbingers say about her. And she's an enigma. Like, she's really hard to figure out. Because I want Capitano to be from Mondstadt, to be the Bloodstained Knight, I'm gonna say Columbina is from Natlan somehow, some way, solely by process of elimination. She doesn't look the part. She looks very heavenly, very angelic, very ancient, right? Her eyes are like sealed. She sings. She's the furthest from my mind when it comes to thinking about who or what she is. I don't know. Ancient Natlan probably has some goated lore too, so we'll have to wait and see. But it does say here, a pilgrimage for a wish, a battle to earn a name. That's an interesting one too. So you know, like how they're like, oh, you know, the rules of war are woven in the womb. Like, what if, like, when you're born, you don't have a name until, like, you win a fight or something, or you win a battle to earn your sense of self? I'm wondering if that's what it's implying. Burnt to cinders for a dream. If the intention yet remains, achieved Aim's truth he has. I'm assuming that's AIM. Again, like I said, we just went to the Ars Goetia, so I'm assuming that that's who it is. The letters being small enough to be able to fit in there makes sense as well. When to become the Pyro Archon, maybe? Yeah, but that's not up to, like, they don't get to choose to be the Archon. The only one that chooses who becomes an Archon, I believe, is like the passing of power through Celestia, I think. Well, I guess not necessarily, because they've been asleep for 500 years. But I don't know. Yeah, Egeria chose her successor. That could be it, too. That could be it, actually. It's less about choosing your successor and more so about, like, you gotta prove that you can be strong enough to be the next successor. Yeah, no, I guess you're right then, yeah. Yeah, Makoto didn't choose A stepped up. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Ruka Devata created her successor, which was literally a version of her. A pilgrimage for a wish. So who's traveling for a wish? Who's battling to earn a name? Who's burning the cinders of a dream? All very perplexing stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if Shibalanke is relevant to this. AIM, if that's the real name of the Pyro Archon. I'm wondering how the previous Pyro Archon is relevant in all of this as well, because we have to keep them in mind, even if we don't know who it is yet. So there's at least like 2 to 3 other entities. There's a lot of moving pieces, I think. Of my notes, that is everything. At this point, the rest of the stuff that we're going to get into, we're going to read the Lava Walker set, we're going to read the Talking Stick lore, we're going to read the Unfinished Reverie, but we're actually going to now be starting Specially Shaped Saurian Search. What an alliteration move there. One day, you and Paimon receive a mysterious commission from the Adventurers Guild. Protagonist wanted. You set off on a new journey, searching for wondrous companions. Oh! Hello, sir. Damn, bro's pitching a tent over here and everything. All right, since I know you go away, I'm going to take a quick picture with you, by the way, if you don't mind. Let's feature the Pyro Reggie's Vine 2 while we're at it. Hello, sir. Ah, you're finally here. You're the protagonist, yes? That's me, your protagonist. Paimon's not sure what you mean by that question. Ah, would you look at that? Too eager for my own good again. And they even told me to be concise when I was posting the commission too. Here's the lowdown. I'm Ranjit, a chef of Cuisine Creative. I've been looking to get a... Oh my god, you would love Shangling. I've been looking to get along nicely with the Pyro Reggie. Oh my god. Bro, this is literally Shangling's story quest, but scuffed. I've been looking to get along nicely with a Pyro Reggie's Vine, but it seems uninterested in my company. Spitting fireballs and slamming the ground, nothing I could do about that, so I'm hiring some adventurer help, of the protagonist kind to be exact. No problem, just leave it to me. Hey, don't go around don't go around agreeing to take on such ridiculous commissions. Where has Paimon been the last 4 years, bro? That's all I've been doing. Wait, are you for real? A creative cuisine chef? Making friends with a Pyro Reggie's Vine? Nothing about that makes any sense. Really? I mean, it is a very grumpy plant, but you never know until you try, right? And after the Reggie's Vine, I'd like to visit the Primo Geovishap. I would like to give the Primo Geovishap, Jade Plume Terror Shroom, and Millennial Pearl Seahorse a go. Okay, sir. That's very convenient. You just want me to go and fight all these giant enhanced mobs for you while you just sit on your ass. This is getting crazier by the minute. Where did you even get these ideas from? Actually, it's because of Of course, it's because of the lore. Actually, it's because of my trip to Natlan not long ago. It's a truly amazing place. If I had to describe its marvelous novelty, it would be like the first time I ate spicy curry enough to make my rain sweat. My tongue had taken all of the stimulation it could bear, but I shoved spoonful after spoonful in my mouth. I couldn't help myself. Speaking of which, I made a whole bunch of friends in Natlan. They're all good folks. Some taught me rock climbing, and others introduced me to the hot springs. This is so exciting. Bet you didn't know this, but the people of Natlan, especially their warriors, dressed in imitation of their Saurians. Ooh, and when in full panoply, they look every bit as brave. Oh, full costume is a good way of putting it. Ah, interesting. Wow, so they like just basically dress the part so that way they both match in battle. It's probably easier to identify if you and your partner kind of look and dress the part to look the same. I made a hat based on those of my Natlan friends. Pretty awesome, eh? Oh, is it the hat in the event page? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder who are his Natlan friends? Are they like other humans or are they Saurians? Sure, it is pretty unique, but Paimon couldn't tell what you were talking about just from that. True. I mean, I haven't got a Saurian buddy with me. I wonder if it was a Saurian friend. It sure would be nice if I did though, but I'm not a local, and to be honest, I'd get restless staying there for too long. That's why I thought to get myself a companion outside Natlan that could take the spot of a Saurian. Even if it doesn't work, it'll make a great story to tell my Natlan friends. Damn. I'm like his discount dragon companion. That's crazy. When you think about it, chat, we have all of these elemental abilities that match that of Archons and the Sovereign Dragons. So technically, we're the next best thing to a Saurian at this point. If that's your goal, you could have picked a more suitable target to make friends with, right? Huh, don't you find them suitable? I mean, they're even like the Natlan Saurians, and they're also strong to boot. A Sumpter Beast companion is really nothing to brag about. I'd need a more demanding trial if I want a tale worth telling. The real pity in this is that I can't be the protagonist myself. Calming these beasts that rage day and night is no easy task, let me tell you. But I suppose that's your field of expertise as an experienced adventurer, right? I'll provide support from the sidelines. Net, food, you name it, you can leave it to me. But as our negotiations with our prospective partners, the spotlight's going to be on you, dear protagonist. Why are you foisting the dangerous stuff on your protagonist? I'm sure we can come to an agreement if you convince me. Of course, that's how these things work. Well, since we've agreed, shall we head out? My pot is ready and my equipment's all checked. Shall we begin? Oh, okay, so he does have other stuff here. Just how are Pyro, Regisvines, and Natlan Saurians alike? Haha, I'm sure you didn't know this, but Natlan is home to fire-breathing Saurians. Yo! So they are literally dragons. They breathe fire. That excessive amount of pyro on your skin, now that's the flavor of Natlan for you. So that's the plan. I mean, the first step of any challenge would be to start at the lower difficulty. He said fire-breathing Saurians, not like a specific type. So does that mean all? It would be weird if that green one also breathed fire. But, you know, it is what it... I mean, they're all Saurians at the end of the day, even if they're all different types. And even if negotiation will fall, its fruit will still make good ingredients for creative cooking. All right, let's see. Now that you mention it, I haven't met a single person from Natlan. Holy shit, where? Well, about that, they have a lot of reservations about leaving their land, which I don't feel comfortable talking about as a foreigner. I'm not too sure about their rules and taboos, but I doubt that it's the unfamiliar environment that's the problem. Wow. Hoyoverse is already cooking, dude. They were like, all right, we have to have a lore-specific reason to explain why we haven't shown a Natlan NPC in almost 4 years. So they're not leaving because of the outside world. It's probably something on the home front that might be preventing them from leaving. Their birthright to fighting, right? Like that one guy said, it's like literally their souls have been forged to fight. So maybe that's why. Maybe they're just like stuck in their ways and they don't want to leave for that reason specifically, or like a taboo or a curse of some sort. I wonder if after the Archon quest, like if this taboo will be lifted and then we'll be able to see Natlan NPCs in other parts of the world. That would be kind of cool. Maybe the land itself doesn't let the people leave. Ranjit, we're back. Oh my god, look at the Vishap in the background over there. The irrigation of mankind ends here. Vishaps rise up. We've been oppressed for thousands of years. Vengeance will be mine. Like, bro's plotting. Ah, you two, I've been waiting for ages. Befriended the Pyro Regisvine yet? Ah, don't even talk about it. You negotiated a period of calm, a very, very brief one. The moment it recovered, it started trying to bump me off again. You know what? You were right. It's not possible to make friends with this creature. Oh, I see. Like, I guess that is a very interesting difference between Natlan and other nations. You can't make friends with wildlife, especially not wildlife of like that, like pure elemental. I mean, unless you're talking about the shroom buddies, you know, but even that was a work in progress. Bro's just going up to a Regisvine and is like, yo, do you want to be friends? That's crazy. Still, its fruit does taste pretty good. Like Pyro, in fact. Reckon my Natlan friends will like it. What does it even taste like? Want to give it a try? If you want, I could... yeah, no, it's fine. Anyways, are you moving on to the Primo Geovishap next? That's right. I think this one's a winner, to be honest. Primo Geovishaps are quite like the... Oh, Primo Geovishaps are quite like the Tepelisari after all? Whoa! Oh, is that the Geo? Like the digging ones? Hold on. Oh, yeah, because we're at the Geovishap, Geo, Earth. If you travel to Natlan from Sumeru like I did, I reckon they'll be the first thing you'll meet. Oh my God. That's actually the first ones that we saw in the trailer too, actually. I think those are the minor ones, like the digging ones. Sure, whatever you say. Paimon doesn't have high hopes up for this one either though. Why couldn't you have gone with the hatchlings?
Hello again.
They don't have round tummies? What? Geovishap hatchlings don't have round tummies. I assume it's all that incredibly quick rolling they do. That can't leave you much of a chance to store up fat. But the main reason's still the lack of impact. Genshin impact. What's a hatchling to those friends of mine who live alongside Saurians? But a primo Geovishap, that's a different story. Even as a tail, it'll be worth the time of day. And anyways, a strong protagonist's gotta have strong opponents. You dig? Oh, he's a joker, guys. You dig? Because I think the Tepelasari are the Sari with the drill nose that dig into the ground. This guy's a joker. I love him. All right, let's not tarry, shall we? The Primo Geo Vishap awaits. All right, I want some big lore from you, sir. Oh, tell me about the I hope I'm saying that right. Tepetlasari? Also, they have Sari at the end of the name, so I wonder if all of them do. The little ones are awfully cute with their big round eyes and roly-poly belly. Yeah, that's definitely the digging ones. As I said before, they're probably the first thing you'll meet if you travel to Natlan through Sumeru. The mines in eastern Natlan are their stomping grounds. Those mines are also home to the Nanatskayan people? Children of Echoes. Yo, one of the tribes? Was that like Aztec? Oh my God, Children of Echoes, Children of Murata. Hold up. Fine miners and excavators they are, and skilled appraisers of gems. Yo, we gotta get Zhongli in there. Sounds boring to you, right? But they are a happy lot, especially their chief. Whatever the case, be sure to pay them a visit when you find yourself heading to Natlan in the future. Those little Tepetlasari, I mean, you'll love them. I can already tell. Aww. All right, that's probably where we're going first, the Geo tribe. By the way, how exactly are you going to eat the Pyro Reggie's vine fruit? Well, we're out in the wild, so simple works best. First, they'll need to trim the fruit's shape without getting burned. Next, we cut off the small piece, dig a groove into the middle of the fruit, and then put in a couple chunks of butter, whopper flour, nectar, and your preferred spices. Then we roast. All done. I'd say the Pyro Reggie's Vine's fruit has a more striking flavor than that of apples. Really sears itself into your memory. Ooh, that sounds really good. Tepetlasari. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Look at this chonker, man. Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. But where are those who share the memories? All right, location number 3, we got the chicken. Haha, and isn't today another day filled with new hope? Ready to head out, friends? New hope, eh? Well, we can take that to mean that your Primo Geovishap communications broke down then. Come now, how could you call me a failure? Mortal Kombat is also communication of a kind. From that perspective, you could even say that we have an honest, profound exchange and gained much knowledge about our respective stances in the process. What do they say again? No friends without a fight. I knew this would happen. Well, you can't know unless you try. Yeah, I like his upbeat attitude. Not giving up yet then. Well, I'll be honest with you. It's always been my dream to ride a Jade Plume Terror Shroom all through Sumeru. But the adults would tell me to not be silly. When I'd ask the Forest Watchers, they'd make troubled faces, tell me not to snoop in risky places. So I gave up on those unrealistic dreams and grew up normal like the other kids. I don't know if you did. You're still thinking about it now. My only adventures were with my choices for ingredients when cooking. But I'd get to thinking sometimes, then I'd remember that I once had such distant, strange dreams, just like the Arinara of legend. But they truly exist, and I once saw them. When did I stop being able to do so? When did I start forgetting them? Oh my God, bro, actually like interacted with Arinara too. I heard this tale about an unlucky fellow named Kontour. While in Natlan, he became a target of the sun's hatred due to a mistake his father made. An unlucky fellow? Yo, the original Bennett? Hold on. Bro, how do you fuck up so bad that the sun hates you? I wonder if the sun is implying like the Pyro Archon or like a sun god of some sort. Kontour, unloved by the sun, was also ostracized in his tribe. And of course, no Saurians would buddy up with him. Kontour, Unloved of the Sun. Damn. That's kind of a badass name, though, I will be honest. For some reason, I'm like, please don't let that be Capitano. Right? Because I said earlier, I was like, none of the Harbingers are from Natlan, but they're having the Harbinger go to Natlan now, and it's Capitano. It'd be weird if he was from Monstadt, because usually they send someone who's from that nation to that nation. In before, this is like Bennett to dad or something, because this guy's unlucky for something his father did. And so if Kontour's unlucky, what if Bennett's unlucky for the sins of his father, for the sins of his father, for the sins of his father? You know what I mean? But he didn't give up, nor did he blame his father or fate. Instead, he proved that he was equal to any valiant warrior in the tribe through hard work and grit. In the end, he accomplished something great. Not only earning the recognition, whoa. Oh, there's another one. Ictomisaurus? All right, so I don't know who that is. I don't know who the Ictomisaurus is. And he became a hero of his tribe. Okay, never mind. This Kontour guy leveled up, I guess. Good for him. When I heard that tale, I too gained the courage to pick my childhood dream off the ground where I'd left it. Ah, so that's the story. So yes, please do help me with the upcoming Jade Plume Terror Shroom negotiations. And there you go, dumping it all on us again. I mean, I'm no match for it as I am now, but I will help support you. That's so interesting. I wonder which one that is then, if it's any of the ones we've seen so far. Oh, yes, please, tell me the tale of Kontour. I gotta admit that my friend only told me the back half. I wonder, what did his father do to warrant such hate from the sun? If it wasn't enough to punish the poor fellow by blinding his father with its golden arrows, the sun would hide itself behind a layer of clouds wherever he went. I heard that there are murals that record the tale, though I have never seen them myself. Okay, we gotta look out for some Natlan murals. Speaking of which, Natlan's murals are very unique, and they are as lovely as they are fascinating. Sometimes I wonder if I should be bringing my camera to Natlan instead of my pots. Hey, we're gonna be the freaking professional photographers when we go to Natlan, boys. That's so funny. Yeah, that's crazy too. I remember when I did Bennett's Hangout, it rained in Bennett's Hangout. It like rains wherever that kid goes, I swear to God. And for this guy, there's a cloud over him everywhere he goes. The apple might not fall far from the tree, gamers. A childhood dream came true. That would make a good story, wouldn't it? Aww, that's wholesome. Thank you, Nahida. That was precious. Shout out to Hoyoverse for just being so consistent with Nahida to be like, yo, if you're in Sumeru, even if you're a limited NPC that goes away when this is done, they still make sure to not forget to add that stuff. So we're here in the end. What about your childhood dream? When I became an adult, I finally understood why the Forest Watchers had made those faces they did. Anyways, I gave it my best shot. I also learned that you should never bring unprocessed Pyro Reggie's Vine fruit near a Jade Bloom Terror Shroom. By the time I smelled something burning, it was already too late. Barely avoided drowning in the spores it poured forth. It's easier to forget sometimes that fungi are a completely different species from shroom boar. Anyway, speaking of which, they actually are a type of fungi, right? That's right, and they taste especially delicious in soups. But anyways, let's get back to today's challenge. Perhaps you've heard the story of the two Fontmare aberrant overlords. It speaks of how the millennial pearl seahorse is described as being proud and noble. By contrast, the Emperor of Fire and Iron seems to be fierce, cruel being, strong but brutal. That's the fire crab. And here, Paimon thought you'd pick the tougher opponent. After all, shouldn't a strong opponent make for a coolest story? That is true, but the Emperor is a heavily armored crab, while the other is a seahorse that flies. I wonder, would you call a flying seahorse a Pegasus instead? Wait, is that the question we should be asking right now? Damn, bro. Let me have my fun, Paimon. Still, if I could only ride it, even once. Well, sure then. Looks like you're sticking this one out in the end. Well, we're here. Ooh. Tell me about the flying companion. Right, back to this. Oh my God. Oh, it's a flying companion. So in the teaser, it showed like a flying creature with the green like Yoshi looking Sauri. I didn't know if that was considered a Saurian or if that was like just a random beast of the wild. Oh, that's cool. So technically they showed us 4, but they only showcased 3. Right, back to the story about Kontour. His companion, Ictomisaurus, was a Saurian with great powers of flight. You could even say that without Ictomisaurus's help, Kontour would have found his success much harder to win. A flying companion's pretty convenient, and come to think of it, yours flies too. Yeah, I don't know if Paimon is the result of my success though. So, she have any special skills? She can make terrifying amounts of food disappear nigh instantaneously. Amazing! Any chef worth their salt would be overjoyed to hear such a skill. Let me cook! Yo, let him cook! Let Ranji cook! Let me cook for her next time, all right? My friends from Natlan all told me that I should stay and cook for the Saurians. Said I'd be a smash hit. So yeah, I'm sure your companion would enjoy my food too. Yo, let him cook. We just went through that event. Audience with a solitary king. Tell me about the hot springs. Ah, I've seen a few in Fontaine. Hot enough to scald you. I heard that wherever the Emperor of Fire dwells, oh my god, we literally talked about this earlier. Wherever the Emperor of Fire and Iron dwells, the waters there are exceptionally hot. But Natlan's hot springs are different. Okay, good. So they won't burn the hell out of me. Thank God. Now, how should I put it? They can heal wounds of body and spirit both. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to hear all of the Breath of the Wild comparisons when we go to Natlan, because I'm gonna be making them. I'll tell you that right now. They power crept the statues of the Seven. That's what makes them so addictive, in fact. Bruh, that's kind of cool. Thank you for all the hard work over these last few days. We did deviate from our original plan, sure, but I, for one, have gained much from these experiences. It was quite a series of battles, yes? Gained much? Don't you mean you learned a lot of lessons? That too, yes. Cultivating friendships is a long-term process, and you need to spend more time after making your pick. Not like what we did this time. Just like Natlan was once a land of ancient dragons, it is now a land where humans and Saurians put mutual trust in one another, becoming comrades who live side by side. I wonder how long that must have taken. How many years has it been? It's been quite a time, I'm sure. I suppose I was too overeager. I thought that I could gain their respect by beating them. Which is why I picked such blunt methods. Bro was like, hey, if I just strong arm them and beat them into submission, we'll be the best of friends. If we had taken our time from the start, perhaps feeding them every day and trying to get closer to them might have boosted our chances. That sounds reasonable enough if you remember the targets you picked aren't the everyday cats and dogs. True, they're more like the Saurians of Natlan, which is why I picked them after all. I imagine that my friends there would understand what an extraordinary thing I've done when I relate those experiences to them. Paimon still doesn't see the similarities, the Primo Geovishap aside, but you do you. The others are quite similar too, the colors for example. Ooh? If that's where you're headed, then slimes would also be similar enough, no? I see where you're coming from. They are both elemental creatures. Besides, slimes do have the potential to become Saurians. Oh, he said perhaps. Oh, okay. Oh, damn. Okay, he's just making shit up then. Are there purple Saurians? Is that what he just said? He was like, oh, they kind of look similar. For example, the color. Spyro, where you at? This plan's suddenly looking very scaled down. It feels much more doable now, too. I won't know until I try. I love that. I love that about him. He's like, you know what? It might sound dumb, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. Thank you so much for your help. With any luck, I have gained a comrade or two from my adventures, enough to qualify as the protagonist of my very own tale. Have a pleasant journey. Bruh. That was very exciting. We took away a lot of stuff from this. Fire-breathing Saurians. The NPCs are stuck in their nation, be it by choice or some other force. They don't want to leave, and he didn't want to tell us why. There might be a taboo of some sort. We got the name of the little minor Saurians from the teaser, as well as potentially the flying one as well. So we have the Tepetlasari, which are the miners, Iktomisari, which are the flying ones. We also got a tribe name, Nanatskayan, which are the children of echoes. We learned this legendary story of Kontour the Unlucky, or Kontour Unloved of the Sun. which is like this unlucky fellow whose dad offended the sun, and so the sun punished him and his dad, which is giving Bennett. Purple Saurians potentially, and Natlan murals to look forward to. Like, the only other thing at this point that Hoyoverse can do to elevate the excitement for Natlan, it's going to be two things. Number one, it's going to be the teaser that they reveal in July. It's probably going to be another tease that they give during the next live stream for 4.8. Obviously, the 5.0 live stream is going to be the true reveal, but I think the next big thing in game is going to be the summer event. It gives us like a lot of tidbits on like the upcoming region and Archon quest. From what I've put together from like the previous ones, especially Bottleland gave us a lot of things with the Hydro Eidolons, and like all of the Hydro Eidolons running Bottleland is equivalent to like Fontaine's people were all Oceanids. I'm just really excited to see what 4.8 summer event's gonna give us leading into the next nation. Then obviously character reveals, whatever Harbinger teaser we're gonna get for Natlan, and everything else in between, like with the live stream special programs and things of that nature. But this was a really cool event. Thoroughly enjoyed that and gave us a lot of stuff to look forward to. Ah, this is nice and warm, guys. We're just getting prepped and primed for our Pyro Traveler in a couple of months. Am I right, guys? Aether's just embracing his inner dragon. I love how that doesn't burn me, but little toe in the water and I'm slowly dying. Oh, hold on, actually. I kind of want to... We do a little trolling around here, chat. Hold on. This should work like it does in Dragonspine, where if Dia takes too much damage, she will out-heal the damage, hopefully. I hope. Actually, is this going to work? Oh! Unkillable Dia, let's go. All right, I'm actually a little anxious right now. I don't know. Like, I want to leave it alone, but like, I'm just wondering if she'll stay alive. Pause, champ.
Yoo-hoo!
All right, let's try again. She's at full 51k HP. Oh my God, 5,000 healing, 5,000 healing. Jesus Christ. Yo, we Cage. This is Cage, right, chat? All right, Dia's good. Look at her. She's in the mirror. She's enjoying herself. If I open my co-op world, it would continue to burn me while I'm reading. You know what? No, fuck it. I ain't no bitch. Let's do this. Dia, just tell people you're training for Natlan, okay? This is your time to shine. And what an appropriate time. After all of that, you know what's hilarious? We're reading the Lava Walkers. You can't make this shit up, dude. Oh, man. Hey, guys, Dia is literally the Lava Walker confirmed. It's happening. It's right here. All right, Lava Walker's wisdom, a circlet of a sage who traversed a sea of fire. It once shone brightly from their ancient silhouette as they stood strong amidst the flames. An ancient circlet that once belonged to the Lava Walker, a sage who wandered in the Mare Javari. Upon close examination, one can almost see his figure standing strong amidst the fiery flames. The wandering sage of the Mare Javari, known as the Lava Walker, crafted this circlet from crimson agate to resist the intense heat of the flames. Shout out to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You literally have to construct like your own like fire resistant armor before you can like go into like the Goron town or the Goron city. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. The Lava Walker just made their own like armor, like resistant armor and circlet. The circlet was built with wisdom and tenacity. It sparked fear and jealousy amongst peers and seniors alike. Stay mad, bro. All right, I don't know what to tell you. How dare the Lava Walker challenge the flames of the Mare Javari? Such blasphemy has not been seen in hundreds of years. The flaming seas would surely devour this arrogant young man, and the skies will blow his ashes into the void. In his jealousy, the teacher demanded that his student step into the flaming sea wearing the circlet. In a state of calmness, the Lava Walker strolled into the lava and gradually disappeared into the horizon. Damn. Take that, teacher. So, do these people revere the Mare Javari? right? Such blasphemy. Maybe they saw that as like disrespectful. Like, how dare you disrespect the freaking ancient grounds of fire? I mean, who knows? I don't know what the Mare Javari is based on. Like, I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it was created. I don't know if a god died there. I don't know if that's where people go to fight and die, like do some duels and, you know, all that type shit. And like whoever dies, like their ashes become, like the Mare Javari could just be like a giant ashen graveyard for all I know. Just like all of the ashes of dead people, you know, because that's literally where Stanley also died. Yeah, or it could be a holy land. It could be a holy ground for all we know as well. But we also know that there are monsters there from what Hans mentioned of Stanley and like his fights in the desert and stuff, like, or his fights in the Ashen Sea. All right, so that's very interesting. So we have that. Next up, we have Lava Walker's Salvation, a feather of a proud phoenix. We have to see a phoenix in Natlan. Like, we kind of have to, right? Incandescent Ode to Resurrection. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I don't know if it's going to be a phoenix in the story, you know, because this is a nation more suited for dragons, or like the dragons seem to be like the main focus of the nation, but it's like literally the act of a phoenix dying and then rising again. Maybe that could be the plot. Like, what if the Pyro Archon just lives and dies? Like, what if they live, die, and then reborn from their ashes as a new Archon? Like, what if that's what it is? What if that's what the Incandescent Ode to Resurrection? Also, Incandescent Ode, an ode is typically a song or a poem, so it's like a song of resurrection. I wonder what all of that implies. The feather of a proud phoenix. You can almost hear the sound of its wings flapping in the scorching flames. A feather plucked by the Lava Walker from a bird that sings. Ode? It's singing an ode of resurrection, perhaps? The wearer can also hear the sounds of the bird's wings flapping in the blaze. Legend has it that there exists a kind of solitary bird that sings in the blazing flames. People worship it as a totem, while kings saw it as a sign of nobility. Donning this feather, the Lava Walker retreated from the outside world. Alone he came, and alone he went, leaving no trace behind. Since then, people often hear cries coming from the Mare Javari. No one knows if they are the songs of the bird or the sigh of the Lava Walker. I'm pretty sure it's the bird. Lava Walker is actually goated. He's just living his best life out there for whatever goddamn reason. That'd be cool to see the Lava Walker too, or like the legacy of the Lava Walker if they're no longer around. Like when you go to the chasm, you can find the Calamity Queller, which is the weapon that the Yaksha Bonanis used to kill Menogius, like in the past. So that'd be kind of cool too if we get to see, I don't know, like a weapon of some sort. If they have more weapon types by the time we get to Natlan, like a weapon or like a hat or something like that that signifies the Lava Walker's existence, or a feather even. That'd be kind of cool. All right, next up we have the sands. Lava Walker's Torment. Burning sand flows within this hourglass. Despite the intense heat, the sand leaves no mark upon the vessel that houses it. What flows within this hourglass is not regular sand, but burning sand. Like this burning sand, time flows forward, leaving no traces of its own existence. The story of the Lava Walker continued even after he traveled across the Mare Javari. It is said that he spent another 100 years living as a hermit, but this short retreat brought little relief to his burning torment. During his time as a secluded sage, the Lava Walker could not bear the eternal scorch. He crafted this hourglass to mark the passing of time. As the flames blazed, burning sands flowed endlessly through the hourglass, day after day. Sadly, though the Lava Walker did not fear the scalding flames of the Mare Javari, he could not quench the torturing flames of time. The anguish of being left alone without the disciples and family he held so dear burned away at his soul more than any flames could ever scorch his flesh. So why is the Lava Walker obsessed with lava walking? Then just stop lava walking then. Like, it just seems like he wants to, but he can't stop. It's like, bro, you could have just gone back home. Stop it. Get some help. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if he's compelled to. And I mean, that could tie into like why the nation is compelled to fight and the nation is compelled by war and why no one leaves their nation. I don't know. It could just be something like built into his soul for all we know. Lava Walker's Epiphany, a legendary goblet that can withstand extremely high temperatures. It still retains a degree of warmth even though it is now empty. A goblet that once contained lava. Now empty, it still has a slight hint of warmth. This goblet once belonged to a sage known as the Lava Walker. Wisdom flowed from within. The Lava Walker would toy with the goblet. Even in the blazing heat, it remained intact. Legend has it that the lava walker would What the fuck? Legend has it that the lava walker would drink lava from this goblet as if it were a glass of fine wine. What the fuck? All right, bro was literally like an elemental being at that point. Bro had transcended. He literally turned into Rosalind. He went from a normal human to like an elemental fire being. But while fine wine evaporates in high heat, the wisdom of the sage could withstand a trial by fire. To the lava walker, fine wine was merely a catalyst in the process of producing ingenuity. Aided by alcohol, even the slightest spark can combust into a brilliant idea. The goblet was a silent witness of the forging of wisdom amidst the flames. The moment before the lava walker set off on his final journey was when the goblet was filled with the most pride. Did he become a sage of Sumeru? It's kind of giving, right? The wisdom of the sage. It's talking about like whenever he drank from this cup, he was filled with brilliant ideas, etc., etc. Interesting. All right, and the last one. Lava Walker's Resolution. A flower that blooms amidst burning flames. It is said that long ago, a sage once wore it as he walked into a sea of fire. A flower that only blooms in the burning flames. The searing pain that it causes will make the wearer stronger. Damn. A fiery red flower shines like shimmering agate. This flaming flower was once a brooch worn by the lava walker. In the lava walker's final days, he said to his people, "This is the flower that blooms in flames. Until the day that the flames turn me into ashes, you shall see the glowing embers of this feather shining through the dark smoke." The people followed the flower's flickering light to the edge of the Mare Javari. There, they found the blooming flowers, but the lava walker was nowhere to be seen. Yeah, I think the Mare Javari is where a bunch of people just die. Like, even here, it seems to imply that the lava walker burned to ash in the Mare Javari, and it's an ashen sea for that specific reason. You know, it'd be really cool is if the Mare Javari also had these blooming red flowers in it. That would be kind of sick. I would really like that. I don't know how we're gonna traverse the Mare Javari and not die. Like, we better get the blessings of the dragon or some shit when we go to the Statue of the Seven. Dealing with Dragonspine is different because there's those fire totems. I'm not expecting anything to be in the Mare Javari that's gonna help us stay in that place longer. So I wonder what they're going to do, but they also can't undermine its nature, right? It's literally like a freaking sea of fire and ash. So yeah, unless you have literally a freaking clam set Dia build, I don't know how you're making it through this place unless they have something cooked up. Unless maybe one of the dragon mounts can let you travel there, but Aether himself, if you go in there with Aether by himself, your ass is literally going to turn into like charred brisket in 2 seconds. And wasn't Bennett born in this shit? I don't know, man. Bennett was born in the darkness, man. I also wonder if there's like another corpse, like an Orobashi or an Alinus or something of that sort in that location in general. I think that'd be kind of cool. Another thing we have to take into consideration, the Natlan Cataclysm. The Natlan Cataclysm may have either started the Mare Javari or exacerbated it. I'm also very interested to see like what that nation was going through during the 500-year Cataclysm. I think that's just relevant in general to the history of Natlan, even if it has nothing to do with the present day. So that was pretty straightforward. I really liked that. I enjoyed that reading session. All right, next up, we're gonna get into the talking stick, not the walking stick. All right, we have the talking stick. Most people will find this obsidian inlaid club quite convincing indeed. Damn, when they bludgeon you over the head with it, my god. Look at this. This is quite the read. Holy moly. As Tanakh gazed upon the vast burning plains, a turbid black tide swelled up from the horizon. He blew his bronze horn and raised his colossal obsidian club to his shoulders. Hold on, this is a new name I've never heard of. Tanakh? The crisis. Okay, and also, what is this? A turbid black tide swelled up from the horizon. That sounds like the abyss of some sort. The crisis emerges, yet the tribal leaders bickered endlessly. Let Tanakh bring his talking stick over and let us mediate the discussion. Is the talking stick? Oh my god, you know what is this just an upgraded debate club?
Hello again.
Yo, this is just a 4-star debate club. Oh, I love this. The debate club, the most persuasive line of reasoning for any debater's arsenal. It literally looks like it too. It's just like an upgraded debate club. That is so funny. I want a 5-star debate club now, damn. Let Tanakh bring his talking stick over and let it mediate the discussion. Tanakh belonged no longer to any tribes, yet his fury still burns unquenched. And thus did lonely Tanakh go forth, his colossal obsidian club resting at on his shoulders, traversing the rugged wilds where dragons roamed, that wilderness of hot springs and lava. The first to come forth and receive the hero Tanakh was the great runner Wanjiru. Let me write that down. And Horatius' companion Kaek. I assume Kaek is the name, like the given name of her Saurian. Her dark skin showed traces of her journey with the hero, and deep scars still visible, though the constant infighting amongst the major tribes was exhausting. Tanakh's invitation had reignited her vigor. A furious battle for the burning lands of Natlan loomed. What reason did Wanjiru and her tribes people have to refuse? Are these the different tribes? So it says the first tribe. Now, the second to set forth and embrace Tanakh was the brave... Oh, okay, I see. The second to come forth and embrace Tanakh was the brave Menelek and his faithful companion Nagobo. Come, come, though every tribe has chased you from their sights, though we are always at odds. But in my eyes, you, club-carrying Tanakh, are a hero among heroes, a brother among brothers. The third to be found by the hero Tanakh was the cunning Sanaj Kontour and his enigmatic companion Mahamba. Sanaj had been persuaded by the Sanhaj had been persuaded by the talking stick before, and the hero agreed to give him the spoils before he agreed to joining the Fellowship of Warriors. Kontour had foreseen his and Tanakh's heroic end, and how the place that would be known as the Merjavari in later days would be born? Wait, what? This guy had a vision? So this is before the Merjavari existed. How long ago was this? Kontour had foreseen his and Tanakh's heroic end, and how the place that would be known as the Merjavari in later days would be born. But nay, it matters little, it matters not. Perhaps there may come a day when the scoundrel made famous for being clever as a viper shall become a hero. Ooh, this is an era before the Merjavari existed. And apparently their heroic end is how the Merjavari would come to be born. So I do wonder if the Merjavari is just literally like a freaking graveyard for heroes. Or maybe not even a graveyard for heroes, but just like, this implies that the guy foresaw a vision of these two heroics dying, and them dying is what would lead to the Merjavari being created. I don't know how else to infer that. The fourth willingly volunteered to join the hero Tanakh. This was young Burkina and his reckless companion, Kongamato. Burkina had never experienced the hardships of battle with Tanakh, but the imposing obsidian club guided him towards the perilous journey. War had left countless scars upon Tanakh's body, and for Burkina, there was the proof of the path that he too must tread. Revolution should be the fate of the young, to bleed for burning justice rather than rotting on a comfortable bed of grass. Wait, what the hell is this man going and gathering all of these troops for, it seems? Oh, a crisis was emerging, and all of these tribes leaders were fucking around complaining and bitching at each other. So Tanakh was literally like, I'm not a part of any tribe. So he like created his own ragtag group, it seems. I wonder if this was the Cataclysm or something prior to that. Yeah, because it says a turbid black tide swelled up from the horizon. So there's like this dark black looming thing, crisis emerging, that almost seems like it's the abyss. And so bro was like, hey, we need to defend the home front. These freaking higher ups are doing dumbass shit, so I'm gonna go out and grab my own ragtag group and convince them to fight with the talking stick. The fifth to be persuaded by the the fifth to be persuaded by the hero Tanakh was Sanjata, chief of the mines, and his steady companion Muhuru. For the stability of all the tribes and to avoid further conflict, I once petitioned the Pyro Archon to vote for your expulsion. But even today, you have yet to give up on bloody battle. It just as well then that it may be the final battle of our generation. If you are so determined to go, then I have no reason not to accompany you, but do not involve my tribe. So did all of these other tribes not want to fight? But bro was like, hey, we have have to fight still. And so he went to each of the other tribes and grabbed somebody. And then this person was like, because I didn't want any of the tribes to get involved and because I don't want there to be fighting anymore, I tried to get the Archon to expel you from Natlan, but you still want to fight. So I'll fight for you, but just don't get my tribe involved. So it seems like everybody else just kind of lost the will to want to carry on fighting for whatever reasons, whether it be against a crisis or each other. And this guy, Tanakh, was like, nah, we got to keep fighting. The Archons were already established. So this was post-Archon War, but pre-Conria disaster. I don't know what conflict that would have been. That must have been a separate thing then. I hope that's not forbidden knowledge. I'm just gonna say that too, because that's a thing. That's a thing that's been popping up more recently ever since King Deshret. I really hope that that's not what it was. Let's continue. Let's see. The 6th to go with the hero Tanakh was his greatest foe at his youth, the giant Tupac. Yo, RIP to the GOAT. No mount could possibly support his massive body. When Tanakh carried his giant club to Tupac's dwelling to speak with him, he found himself carefully counting the magnitude of scars left on his body by challengers. Over 300 scars, 20 broken bones, and over 100 shards of obsidian buried deep within my flesh like tiny jewels. 200 minor wounds, 2 broken ribs, and 1 eye that will never again pierce distance. The trophies you left me are equally generous. Jesus Christ. They did everything to this man but kill him. Jeez, oh my God. The 2 former enemies burst into riotous laughter and they joined hands. And thus, Tanakh found allies from each of the 6 major tribes. Glittering like the flames of roaring wildfire, they crashed into the mountains of darkness. This guy was a Giga Chad. What the hell? Man assembled his own Avengers team, 1 person from every tribe to fight against the darkness because nobody else wanted to do anything. They died, and it seems like from this foretelling here, it says Compore had foreseen his and Tanakh's heroic end and how the place that would be known as the Mare Javari in later days would be born. So it seems like the battlefield of this fight between the darkness and Tanakh and his army of 6, mind you, became the Mare Javari. That's really cool. That's so sick. I hope we learn more about this guy. I don't know what this crisis is. I don't know what this darkness is. I can only assume it's the Abyss, but I don't know if it's the Abyss. I don't know if it's forbidden knowledge. Maybe it's like a Natlan equivalent to the Withering. I have no idea. Right? Tatarigami, defilement, filth, etc., etc. To kind of like reinforce what I said earlier, actually, it was a member of the tribe and their companion. So I wonder if their companion was their Saurian companion. So everyone had, it was a person and a Saurian that fought alongside Tanakh, which is even more badass. You had 13. You had 6 people, 6 Saurians, and then Tanakh is the leader. Oh, Tupac? Yeah, I guess Tupac didn't have one. So maybe it was 12 or 11 rather. But yeah, this was a really cool story. I hope we learn, or I hope we hear more of Tanakh, because like he literally, I mean, this was ancient history at this point, but it did say that he had a heroic end. So a heroic end implies potentially having a legacy, a story maybe talked about, like kind of like this Kontour individual, but we'll see. All right, last but certainly not least for all of this rounding off, we are going to check out the unfinished Reverie artifact set. This is the latest artifact set that dropped this patch for version 4.6. And I think this also is going to tie into maybe some of the tribes of Natlan. But yeah, this has been a phenomenal experience overall, just kind of getting all of these cool different stories and information about Natlan, the customs, the culture, the environment, the atmosphere, some of the wildlife, some of the like goings on of the nation, some of the stories as well, which is really cool. But we're going to start with the plume here, which is going to be Faded Emerald Tail, a tail feather ornament whose luster has long faded. The pattern on it is said to have been etched by the hand of a skilled artisan from long ago. Whoever so lays eyes upon the turquoise adorned carvings shall have their mind and soul seized by the ingenuity of their design. Whoever so lays eyes upon the intricate golden inscriptions shall be profoundly moved by the artist's outstanding craftsmanship. The young lady obeyed the commands of the youth to whom she was deeply bounded, seeking out traces of the renowned craftsman among the rumors that flew about in the streets. Yet she found nothing amidst the palatinal courtyards and the feasts of the nobility. Thoroughly vexed by this, she took out the ornamental golden feather and stared into the dim light, recalling the face of her late father. To the side, a drunkard with half his face hidden behind his cowl opened his mouth coldly, recounting the origins of the pattern adorning the feather. Who would have thought the maker of such beautiful accessories would be a beggar of horrifying visage, loitering about a dilapidated tavern? The scars of having been burnt by a raging flame marred the half of his face that was hidden under a hat, the flesh a melted surly of blood. But the girl felt no fear, and after recovering from her surprise, she handed the accessory to him. On that night, his eyes upon the ornament whose light had long faded, he told her of things long lost in the land. The story of the emerald-colored Quetzal with a long tail, of the time where he had been tasked with making something for one respected by all. That was my father, but he was condemned for protecting the tribe's Saurians, and his life was taken from him. The girl's voice was cold. The craftsman saw the same hatred he nursed burning within her eyes. "Then I shall gladly serve you, lord," he said, before she even spoke of her purpose. In his heart, he was actually willing to serve her, but it was not something he needed to say, for he could see that at this time, someone else already occupied the girl's heart. An artisan created this feather for her father, and then she took it to somebody else and explained that her father was condemned for protecting the tribe's Saurians. So he was protecting the dragons, and his life was saved. This is what I mentioned earlier, where I was like, why would protecting the Saurians be a bad thing unless they're being mistreated or something? And so by protecting them, he was punished. So I wonder if like some of them are seen as like servants or slaves. Dark fruit of bright flowers. A flower carved from gray stones covered with golden foil. Legend says that during a war, it was used to differentiate friend from foe. It was the age where the banners of the tribes had been coated in dust, gradually losing their color. And before the throne stands a half man holding a cracked ring, playing with preeminence. Strict orders were given that none shall ever again give ear to the instructions left by the deep messengers of twilight, the distant ancestors and the first ascended. Messengers of twilight. That sounds like divine emissaries. To hear them not from the mud-caked roots of trees, the flickering flames of bonfires, and the reflections found in the deep woods. Oh my god. And so, the ancient gloom, the moment that engulfs a million darknesses, came at last. Just as the stench of iron lingers, even as bloodstains upon the ancient scrolls fade. And so, when the pitch-black darkness, thick enough to touch, seized the depths, the red-eyed youth, through countless calamities, returned from the kingdom where water flows as rays of light to the hilly heights of the ineffable city. Whoa! Okay, they just threw a ton of stuff at me right there. So, a pitch-black darkness was encroaching on Natlan again? After Tanakh? Or before I don't know when this takes place. The red-eyed youth. He returned from the city where water flows as rays of light. I don't know if that's Fontaine. That has to be Remoria then, right? Because Remoria was before Fontaine. I don't know when this happens, if this is in the present or the past, or like the more recent present, but it sounds like Fontaine, or whatever was Fontaine at that time. As he stepped into the floating garden, the raspy warning of the blind, stooped old woman still clutched in his ear. As radiant flowers still blossom among the clinging vines of distant marsh, go seek, for here in the land of dead, piled high with the skulls of behemoths, go seek those the truly righteous, who are still willing to stand in the cold, cruel night to throw themselves into the fire. And remember, never betray their passion, their hatred, their greed, and their ambition. Do not break faith with the eyes of those still willing to gaze upon the burning flames. This is so dank. Like, what is happening? The first to arrive was a young lady, holding a dull feather accessory. She sought out information for the youth like a Quetzal flitting between the tall tents. The second were the hero twins. Whoa. The second were the hero twins, the elder whose lip and teeth were sharper than any blade, and the younger whose back bore the brunt of the tyrant's lash. Upon hearing of how the scarlet-eyed youth had saved the Saurians, the taciturn warrior too was willing to contribute his strength. It says here, the red-eyed youth, and then it says here, the scarlet-eyed youth that saved the Saurians, but her dad also protected the Saurians, so I'm wondering if that's the same person. I wonder if her dad is this scarlet-eyed youth. Because it's a story, right? Yeah, it has to be. Because she's telling them. And they were like, oh, that's her dad. So after hearing the story of the scarlet-eyed youth that saved the Saurians, the warrior twin offered his strength. But we need someone who understands the layout of the city better than anyone. Also, they're gonna get back at the person that killed her dad? Who can point out the paths and passages open and secret and manipulate mechanisms as one might do to toys in the palm of their hands. After the scarlet-eyed youth had spoken thus, the usually reticent and reserved hero, that powerful hero who hoped Saurians and humans would live together in peace, remembered the rumor and spoke the name of the craftsman. Are they still alive then? Oh, in this scene. Okay. Also, this passage is implying that at this point, Saurians and humans were not on equal footing, right? It was the hope that Saurians and humans would live together in peace. And maybe to an extent, it's like that now, like it's better now, kind of like how the Melazine had to work together with humans over several generations for them to be accepted into society. You know, you just had to like wane out the negative Nancys of the past. Yeah, so back then it seems like the Saurians were seen more as like inferior. And that's why her father like protected them and he got in trouble for it. Next we have the circlet. Crownless crown. A golden crown decorated with turquoise and emerald feathers. It has never been used in a coronation, living alone atop a velvet cushion. Someone once granted her desire, agreeing to remake the long, dulled feather accessories once the ancient kingdom had fallen. And so she too promised that person, who had long earned her respect, that when the time came, she would give them a turquoise crown in return. It was after witnessing the crooked corpse agonizingly hutched beneath the black beast's butchered blade, oh my god, that she understood. The crown she had forged and adorned with her own two hands would wait alone for its master, who would never attend the coronation. Many years later, the odd preferences of that aged mistress of the mines spread about the 6 tribes. It is said that an old lady enjoyed all kinds of luxurious jewelries, much of which could no longer be made with the artistry of contemporary craftsmen. Among these, should it be a work signed by a specific artisan, and should one be willing to present it to her, she would exchange it for any price of precious gems. Even if they were a forgery, she would take it all the same. When the people of the tribe urged her to, at the very least, not reward the greed of frauds, she said, "Ah, but I do this precisely because such crude forgeries cannot be allowed to stain his good name." Oh, that's nice. He's like, oh man, I can't allow these forgeries to be passed off as the real thing, so I'll take them so other people don't get duped. Moreover, though, she did not advertise the fact she never truly let any base cheats get away with their... Oh, okay, so she didn't let anyone get away with their schemes either. Their perfidy. In contrast to the friends who had courageously sacrificed themselves, her life seemed too far by now. And so she used the time left to her to gather all that was left behind by the hero she missed. The scarlet-eyed youth she had loved had returned to the sacred flames after completing his calling, leaving nothing but a warm afterglow. And when the silent hero fell into the ruler's flames, the new world reflected in his remaining eye was already his greatest reward. That's an interesting passage. So in that first passage, it mentioned that the guy noticed that she was already spoken for by someone. And now we're seeing that this scarlet-eyed youth is brought up again. So is that like her lover now? Now I have no idea who the scarlet-eyed youth is. The scarlet-eyed youth she had loved had returned to the sacred flames after completing his calling. Returned to the sacred flame. So it's like this sacred flame where life is born and life goes to die as well. That kind of reminds me of how like the Arinara refer to, what's it called? They refer to Sarva. They were like, all things are born from Sarva and all things return to Sarva. So I wonder if there's a sacred flame of sorts, like the primal fire of Natlan is where life is born and where life goes once they've done their deed and they return to the flame. And when the silent hero fell into the ruler's flames, the new world reflected in his remaining eye was already his greatest reward. Okay, so I guess the world was changed for the better, and that itself was its own reward. One of the hero twins was once an incorrigible chatterbox, yet upon witnessing his brother die at the hands of their adversary, his tormented wailing racked his throat hoarse. And yet, Alawalpa, too, died before me. Who could have imagined that I, the frailest of all, would have lived to the end? The wise amongst the tribes often say that those who have been tossed about by the winds and waves would grow tired of the steady ground, and I am no exception. These years without all of you here have truly been too dull. But there will surely come a time for a reunion with friends long since past, and when long-awaited premonitions come to pass. She picked the genuine articles that the craftsman had made from among her jewels. Compared to the forgeries, they were all too few. And with those things bearing his name, she walked into the dark night, never to return. According to legend, on the next day, the people stood under the tree where she placed the turquoise crown, and they swore an oath to follow her final orders, blotting from history the name of the masterful craftsman she took away with her. That passage, I'll be honest, that passage kind of like left me stumped a little bit. I'm not entirely sure how to interpret that. Obviously, a bunch of the people that decided to ally with her died. I know that much, but I'm not entirely sure what exactly happened. Like, she was like, oh, we need to take down the ruler of the kingdom, but like a bunch of people died in the process? Was that just for seeking revenge? I'm not entirely sure. The scarlet-eyed youth was her lover, and her dad died protecting the Saurians, because back then they were kind of treated lesser than. They wanted to get revenge on this cruel tyrant that did that, and a bunch of the people she recruited died in the process. And that's why she made that vow. She was like, hey, if we do this, you'll get this crown, or this crown will be given out. And then that's why it never was, because I think that all those people ended up dying, including the person she made that deal with. The wine flask over which the plan was hatched. Wow, that is a mouthful. A three-legged cup. Once many heroes were gathered around the bonfire, raising their cups high in toast and drinking their fill while discussing their wishes and ambitions. He spoke to the scarlet-eyed young man and his heroes of the trials and tribulations he had endured. It is said that the king of the ineffable city once gathered skilled artisans from the tribes. Underground, he excavated gargantuan beastly constructs, whose wings once caught the wind as great banners might, all to fulfill his ambitions. That sounds like Conria tech. Underground, gargantuan beastly constructs? That sounds like the Aeon Blight Drake. But the king's erratic behavior had long been common knowledge, and so, on the day he finally probed the depths of the secrets, he lit a great fire, intending to burn it all, and all who knew of it, burying all together with the ruins behind the stone gate. That sounds like Conria. The king's erratic behavior? Was that King Ermin? And so he finally probed the depths of the secret. Yeah, the stone gate would probably be the gate of Conria that's there right now, the 3.6 area. And then bro is like, we gotta burn it all to the ground. This place is fucked. Amidst the all-consuming inferno, as a doomed craftsman lay dazed at death's door, a golden tear dropped from the stone head, fell into his eye, and he saw much. He spoke of the gigantic creations he saw in his stupor, of elaborate machines whirring. He spoke of shadows driven by the flowing flames, climbing from the distant horizon up to the disk of the moon hanging in the sky. What? So that golden tear is the source of your fountain of fanciful stories. Was that a story? That seems like it could be real. So the twin heroes who had taken in the story as but a tale, asked as they giggled. He can hear the incredulous Jocularity. Okay, I've never heard that word before. He could hear the incredulous jocularity in their tone, as they were always like this. The man had long grown accustomed to it. As he felt the young woman's inquisitive gaze reach him, he forced a derisive laugh, causing the muscles in his face to sting slightly. In truth, he had seen far more in those flames that had nearly rendered his life to ashes, such as flowing golden patterns, another path to escape from the ruins, as well as the manifold iron rule that had established the empire that stretched far and wide, but the latter might be too far beyond the ken of the youths. He set aside his wine vessel, which had but a few drops sloshing about the bottom left. Perhaps when the dust finally settled, and when the ancient cornerstone was restored, when all had progressed farther, he would reveal everything, and this pleased him. For at this moment, his wild fantasies already revolved around how to craft a brilliant imperial wall for a new king, or for the new king. So this implies that this guy was in Conria, helping to create and make all of these machines. He was excavating. So he was discovering all these machines and whatnot, and learning about the king's condition. He was burning it all the way when he realized the truth of it all, and a golden tear dropped into his eye and gave him premonition, like visions of the future or visions and whatnot. It mentioned something of Conria, and then it says the king's erratic behavior. So I thought that was also tied into, like, that's me making the assumption. That's not me saying that that's what this is reading. That's how I'm interpreting it as I'm reading it when it's presenting this Conria-like information to me. I'm not saying that that's what it's reading as. This is always from my perspective. We're reading the last thing anyways. Moment of attainment. A sundial used by an ancient kingdom to tell time. Tiny marks have been left at a certain scale that can only be seen through careful observation. One of the things that bedevils researchers who study relics is how, amongst the many sundials retrieved from the ancient ash-covered ruins of the city, would they, for some reason, find an engravement made in exactly the same spot as by a Burin. Sorry. Those who came from the canyons believed that it was a time for those who had broken with their faith to light the obsidian pillars once more. That day, the one acting on behalf of the leaders of the tribe, the daughter of the mines, Sakuk, sent the wandering spirits back to the realm of the night. Those who came from the hanging... Oh, these are different areas. So the mines is one. Those who came from the hanging trees believe that it was a time for those who had forsaken their contracts to sign up once more with the Saurians of the 6 tribes. That day, the great hero trusted by all warriors, the taciturn Yupankwi, used his sword to shatter the shackles binding the Saurians' necks. Those who came from the spring source believed that it was the time for those who had forgotten their past to listen anew to the echoes of the waves. That day, the elder of the twin heroes, the eloquent Atahualpa, rekindled the desire of all for past glories. Those who came from the fertile lands believed it was a time for the oppressed to rise from the earth once more. These are all I think these are the 6 locations of Natlan, right? You got the canyons, the hanging trees, the mines, the spring source, the fertile lands, the mountains peaks. Oh, I wonder if Natlan is divided into like 6 terrains then, right? 6 tribes, 6 terrains. On that day, the younger of the twin heroes, the champion Wasker, stood first against the torrent of darkness. To those who came from the mountain peaks, believed it was a time for those who had been caged to return to freedom's nest once more. That day, the scarlet-eyed hero summoned the god's fiery wrath, burnt the corroded kingdom to ash, and restored the tribes to their own. Holy shit. The god's fiery wrath? Is that like primal fire? Is that a pyro vision? Yo, they were literally like, yo, gamers rise up. We've been oppressed for too long. They all joined together and they usurped the freaking king. Or they not usurped him, but they took down the tyrant. So this was like the liberation of the Saurians too, I think. Because the Saurians, I think up to this point were like second-class citizens. So they unshackled the Saurians, they joined forces, They defeated all of the freaking nefarious forces that were in the kingdom. They took down the king, and the dude freaking scorched the city. This kind of reminds me of like a more present day story of Tanakh. Like Tanakh got this ragtag group of people together and they fought against like, I guess, more natural forces like the Abyss. And then this group of people fought together to liberate like a part of the nation of Natlan. This could actually be like the capital, like the central city, right? Because they mentioned all of these other locations, the fertile lands, the spring source, the canyons, the mountains. Like, so there's like these 6 locations that I guess one tribe per each location, but then there has to be like a central hub for Natlan. And that might be what this place was in the past. And they even say too, they said that the Scarlet-Eyed hero summoned the god's fiery wrath, which kind of is giving like god powers, like fire powers. I don't know, again, primal fire powers based on the whole Xbalanque stuff. But yeah, another example of a revolution going on in Natlan. This one seems a little bit more natural. Like the other one wasn't much of a revolution. It was more of like a, hey, there's this dark, nefarious force that's encroaching on our kingdom, on our nation. Do we want to do something about it? And then they tried their best. This seems more of like an upheaval, kind of like the oppressed are fighting back. And this seems more of like a Viva la Revolution kind of vibe. And it's also very interesting too, considering how Natlan is based on like Latin America and I think West Africa, for what I've heard. And so just a lot of bullshit going on in these places in the past. So it's correlating for sure. Okay, only the first present who came from the mysterious smoke, the youth who knew the hidden secrets, remained silent. Alone, the image painted on the blanched scroll came to mind. It is said that it was a time when the black shadow shrouded the sun. The heroes who had long prepared for this moment seized the opportunity to overthrow the insane king before the empty throne. In the non-mainstream, unofficial histories, the man behind the plan was a skilled artisan who left no name behind. But the artisan left behind not a single word in the war that returned authority to the tribes. And afterwards, he disappeared without a trace from the old stories, covered by layer upon narrative layer. The youth smoothed over the nearly identical scratches on the sundial in his hands, imagining a time unnumbered sunsets before. After the date to execute the plan had been agreed upon, those hands that might not even have existed, and the moment the owner of those hands had engraved those marks upon the sundial. Sheesh! Yeah, this was an interesting read. This kind of gave us some interesting tidbits of information for Natlan as well. Like, again, it's just war never changes. It really doesn't. Like, it happens for the betterment of mankind. It happened for the betterment of Saurians. And there's just a lot of craziness going on here. But yeah, I mean, Hoyoverse is doing a good job kind of giving us a lot of breadcrumbs. This was literally everything that we conceivably know. Also, Dia's over here, like, literally surviving as best she can. This is literally everything we conceivably know so far as of version 4.6 about Natlan, from NPCs, in-game information, external information, events, and the like, and some of the little bits of lore that we've read up on for weapons and artifacts. But yeah, this was fantastic. Thoroughly excited for Natlan. We're probably going to start getting a couple of more teases of Natlan with the 4.8 live stream special program. And then obviously the 5.0 is where it's really like officially going to take off. Regarding, you know, the Harbingers as well, we should be getting another Harbinger teaser trailer featuring Capitano and Natlan as well whenever we get to, whenever July rolls around. So that's going to be another exciting factor. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. I know there was a lot of information thrown at different points throughout the video and throughout the stream. This was a 6-hour stream, by the way, which is insane. It'll probably be chiseled much lower to just give you guys the cliff notes of all the stuff we talked about here without any of the annoying transition bits. Yeah, this was great. I'm super excited to see where Natlan takes us with the Saurians, with Xbalanque, with a potential Pyro Dragon Sovereign, the Archon, both prior and current, and obviously the Harbingers, the last Gnosis that the Tsaritsa needs, the Tsaritsa's overall plans, if there's going to be more than one Harbinger involved, and everything else in between. Very excited to see everything come together in the next few weeks.